Meet Itsuki, a kid permanently trapped at level 0. On the day of the awakening, while everyone else was unlocking god-tier powers, it was his turn, and he became the laughingstock of the entire school. The crystal flared, then fizzled into nothing. But what they didn't know, Itsuki had just awakened an absolutely broken ability. Even though he was stuck at rock-bottom level 0, he could now dissect his enemy's powers and boost his own stats to infinity. And just like that, Itsuki was on the path to becoming the Academy's ultimate dark horse, destined to make every arrogant noble bend the knee. But as his journey began, the world started to end. Massive rifts known as abysses violently tore open the sky. Moments later, a shimmering energy dome slammed down over the city, sealing everyone inside. Vile creatures, straight up, called demons, began pouring out of the portals, led by a monster named Linga, the demon of ruin. And just like that, they kicked off a brutal, no-holds-barred massacre. In the middle of the carnage, a father makes the ultimate sacrifice, leaping in front of a beast to save his son, screaming at him to run for his life. The streets were pure pandemonium, with terrified civilians scrambling for cover as monsters swarmed the city. One of the beasts, wreathed in eerie blue fire, unleashes a bone-chilling roar. In the heart of the fiery chaos, the creature charges up a devastating energy blast. Its target, a helpless little girl frozen in terror in the middle of the street. But at the last possible second, someone shoves young Itsuki to safety, pleading with him to get the hell out of there. That desperate scream of his name echoes in his mind, a constant, painful reminder of that tragic day. Snapping back to the present, his friend nudges him, asking why he's so zoned out, and giving him a serious side-eye. She presses him, wanting to know if he's actually okay, but then her expression softens when she sees a single tear on his face. "Hey, why are you crying?" And right on cue, a couple of jerks swagger over and immediately start trash-talking his fit. You see, after those demon attacks, humans with powers known as the Awakened started popping up. His classmate explains that the man on stage is the legendary general from the continent Izumi Hento. Itsuki zones out again as the kid continues. Izumi was the OG Awakened, the very first in history. On top of that, he's called the Light of Hope because the dude is an absolute unit, the strongest of them all. New research just dropped, saying that even normal people might be able to awaken by touching a special kind of monolith. The general on stage then makes a huge announcement. He says they're there to give every single student that exact chance. And on his word, a colossal monolith erupts from the ground, humming with an insane amount of raw power. The entire student body absolutely loses its mind, the air exploding with cheers and hype. Itsuki's friend whips around to face him. His face is lit with pure excitement as he yells that their moment has finally arrived. He immediately bolts for the queue while his female friend tells Itsuki to hang back and wait his turn. But inside, a dark, chilling aura begins to swirl around him, his eyes gleaming with a terrifying resolve. A wicked smile creeps onto his face as he thinks, the day I've been waiting for has finally come. And so the ceremony begins. But the first student to touch the monolith gets absolutely nothing. A wave of anxiety washes over the students. If the school's star athlete couldn't do it, what hope was there? The security guard just impatiently barks for the next person in line to step up. The hype in the crowd quickly dies down, replaced by doubt. They start whispering that maybe no one from their school is going to make the cut. The guard then calls the next name, a notorious bully named Oishi Hikaru. The students get worried. It would be an absolute nightmare if that guy got powers. But suddenly, the monolith erupts in a brilliant flash of light. Arcs of blue lightning crackle and dance around the bully's body. A status screen materializes, revealing he's awakened as a powerful thunder elemental. A woman in armor reports to her superior that they've finally found a promising candidate. Down below, the newly awakened bully smirks arrogantly. He starts boasting about being the first one to awaken from their school. But out of nowhere, our protagonist walks past and casually bumps into him, without even giving him a second look. The bully gets furious, yelling and asking if Itsuki had a death wish for daring to touch him. The crowd whispers that it's over for this kid. He just picked a fight with the absolute worst person. From their perch above, the observers sense an incredibly intense wave of emotion radiating from our hero. He touches the stone, thinking that his resolve is fueled by the pure hatred he feels for the monsters. At that very moment, the masked commander's eyes snap wide open. He's sensing a power that shouldn't even exist. Behind our protagonist, a massive, powerful spiritual image materializes out of thin air. The monolith goes absolutely berserk, unleashing a blast of energy that shakes the entire building before exploding upward into the sky. It creates a massive lotus flower of pure energy above the school. Everyone is in shock. The energy signature is hundreds of times larger than the bully's. His friends are going nuts, shouting that he finally awakened his power. But from above, the observers are completely stunned, because this is the unmistakable sign of a destroyer. The bully's face twists with pure hatred, unable to believe he was just surpassed so completely. The scene shifts, and Itsuki finds himself inside the very heart of the energy flower, wondering if he actually awakened. Suddenly, a status screen appears before him. Class Destroyer and Gift Nirvana. but his hope instantly turns to panic when he sees that every single one of his attributes is a big fat 0. Just then, his special ability activates. It increases all his stats by 200 points. With a slow grin, he realizes this is how he'll get stronger, strong enough to annihilate every last beast outside. The light from the lotus becomes so intense that it blinds everyone who was looking. And amidst all that blinding light, the silhouette of our protagonist begins to emerge. Oishi refuses to believe what he's seeing. Model. Screaming no way, the woman in armor is floored by his stats, calling him a straight-up monster rookie. The screen flashes all his attributes have maxed out at 200. The crowd absolutely erupts, going wild that their school just produced a legendary tier awakened. Awashi, seething with rage, roars that the protagonist just stole his thunder. All that applause was meant for him. Snapping, he unleashes his aura, preparing to obliterate the classmates who dared to mock him. He decides to flex his new skill, Silver Serpent, but the protagonist's system instantly pings the incoming assault and immediately starts breaking down the ability. As the analysis bar climbs, Itsuki just stares him down his gaze, utterly cold and calm. The bully then unleashes a colossal lightning whip that shatters the very ground it strikes. In a flash, Itsuki vanishes into thin air, leaving everyone wondering where he went. And then, he reappears directly behind the bully, who freezes solid with terror. In a chilling voice, Itsuki warns that if Aoshi were a true monster, he'd already be a corpse. The bully collapses to the ground, trembling as the other students laugh at his pathetic display. The skill analysis is nearly finished, and a crackling new aura begins to envelop Itsuki's body. With the analysis hitting 100%, he officially acquires the Thunder Wave skill. A brilliant light shines again so bright that one of his classmates actually throws on a pair of sunglasses. Itsuki pieces it together. He gets warped into this space every time a skill analysis completes. The system window displays the new skill's details, revealing it can absorb attacks and supercharge his agility. Back in reality, a storm of blue lightning now swirls around our protagonist. The bully is absolutely furious, his mind unable to process how he copied a skill that fast. To the astonishment of everyone, his stats begin to climb yet again, a clear sign of his escalating power. But in that moment, the entire sky turns dark, and a sudden heavy rain begins to pour down. Out of the clouds, a gargantuan dark monolith appears, plummeting towards the school. The armored woman screams for everyone to evacuate, knowing full well they're the bullseye. Her face is a mask of fear, as she admits that direct combat isn't her team's strong suit, but the masked man points at the boy, saying he's got more guts than all of them. As the crowd flees for their lives, Itsuki stands his ground. The woman yells, demanding to know why he isn't running. The monolith slams down with a cataclysmic impact, unleashing waves of sinister energy. Itsuki warns his friends that a monster is coming, but he declares he's going to finish it off. Panicked, they beg him to run, screaming that he just awakened and is no match for this. He simply turns to his friend, his gaze intense, and asks her to believe in him. She agrees, but tells him not to blame her if he winds up dead. A wicked smile curls on his lips as he thinks that his first real enemy, as an awakened, has finally shown up. He feels a twisted stroke of luck. It's the same kind of monster that slaughtered his parents. A skeletal soldier shambles out from the portal, and the system flashes its combat statistics. With a look of pure determination, he decides it's time to test his new toy. The protagonist then rockets toward the monster, charging head-on and unleashing a torrent of his newfound energy. He blasts out a wave of thunder, roaring that he won't let anyone else die. The attack slams squarely into the skeleton soldier, with absolutely catastrophic force. The impact sends the beast flying backward, where it explodes against the school building. The onlookers are in shock, muttering that he's way too powerful for a freshly awakened rookie. But the masked man clarifies that this kid is operating on a totally different plane of existence. Suddenly, the skeleton lurches to its feet and conjures a blue inferno, a skill known as bonfire. Seeing the danger, his friends scream his name, petrified by the scene unfolding. Meanwhile, the bully sports a truly evil grin, hoping Itsuki gets absolutely wrecked. But our hero's system is already analyzing the new skill, and the process accelerates the moment he's engulfed in flames. The armored woman worries, knowing that not even a level 10 awakened could survive this. His body begins to char, and in that moment of agony, he finally understands the pain his mother went through. A traumatic memory flashes, showing his mother being consumed by the very same blue flames. From a distance, the general watches the whole thing unfold, wondering if Itsuki is already at his limit. Even while being burned alive, he screams that as soon as the analysis is done, the monster is a dead man walking. One of his classmates loses all hope, but then gasps as the mystical blue lotus reappears. The analysis completes, and the system announces he's acquired the Black Ice Wall skill. This new power not only jacks up all his stats, but also completely heals his wounds. He thinks that with this new spike in attack power, he can finally shatter the monster's defense. Back in reality, the blue lotus flower blooms, bathing the entire battlefield in its light. From the center of it, our protagonist re-emerges without a single scratch fully restored. His friends go absolutely nuts, screaming in relief to see him alive. The observer is stunned, unable to comprehend how he can possess both healing and lightning abilities. He looks at his own perfect hand, wondering about the true limits of his regeneration. In that instant, the skeleton soldier roars with fury and unleashes its blue flames once again. But the protagonist activates his new skill, materializing a black ice shield on his arm. He stands his ground without flinching as the hellfire rushes towards him. The ice wall meets the flames and completely negates the attack. With a blinding flash of power, an energy blast detonates with such catastrophic force, it sends the monster hurtling backward. Exploiting the opening, he unleashes a whip of pure lightning, brutally slamming the beast into the dirt. But the creature lurches to its feet, now armed with a colossal sword forged from ice and thunder. In a blur of motion, Itsuki materializes behind it, and with one fluid slash, he carves the monster in half. The students are completely floored, saying he moved so fast it was like he straight up teleported. Even the proctor is staggered by his insane power level, wondering if this kid is actually a rookie. The secret is out: he can manifest weapons of any kind, making him a total beast on both offense and defense. The fight is over, and his friends finally rush toward him, screaming his name. One of them pulls him into a hug, looking insanely relieved, but all Itsuki asks is where Saya is. His friend explains she was right there just a second ago, looking like she was about to burst into tears. Itsuki frantically scans the crowd but can't spot her, guessing she might be pissed at him. The proctor, completely impressed, notes that he just soloed a monster that even a level 10 awakened would have serious trouble with. His buddy tries to chill him out, suggesting she probably just ran to the nurse's office, worried sick about him. Suddenly, a new voice cuts through the noise, asking if he's Itsuki Tenma, which catches his friend completely off guard. A masked man stalks toward the boy, his presence so intense it feels like the air is getting heavy. The other students start buzzing, whispering about whether the legendary Izumi is about to take him on as his disciple. Itsuki's friend volunteers to go find Saya for him before waving goodbye. The masked man finally faces him, stating that he's a very special kid. Itsuki just looks back totally confused, asking him what he's talking about. That's when Izumi reveals that the young man's heart is completely overflowing with pure rage and hatred. And with that bombshell, he declares that he wants to understand the true origin of all that resentment. Our hero explains that 10 years ago, his parents sacrificed themselves to save him. A flashback rips us back to his childhood, where a monster's attack is about to obliterate him. He says he was seconds from death, but another awakened hero saved him right as his mother watched. But the relief was short-lived. He was forced to watch his mom get murdered, hearing her last goodbye as she was engulfed in flames. The little boy just breaks, screaming in absolute despair as the nightmare unfolds before his eyes. The guilt was crushing, but a voice deep inside him screamed that this was all wrong. The true source of this evil was the demon leading the charge, the one responsible for everything. In that moment, utterly consumed by a burning fury, the young Itsuki made a solemn vow to himself. As a single tear carves a path down his cheek, he swears he will hunt down and slaughter every last monster of that species. Izumi presses him, asking how he can still shed tears when his heart is so poisoned with hatred. Itsuki reveals that his right eye just cries on its own, a constant physical reminder that prevents him from ever letting go of his rage. Hearing this, Izumi officially invites him to become his disciple and join the Savior's Alliance. He lays it out: it's an elite organization created to strategically hunt monsters. Its members, known as Saviors, get access to intense training, insanely powerful weapons, and a massive salary. But Izumi makes it clear that this life isn't a free ride. They put their lives on the line every single day. The protagonist fires back that he couldn't care less about the money because the only thing that matters is getting a spot on the front lines. He declares with absolute conviction that he wants to become a savior. Izumi then mentions there's an annual tournament where only the top 100 prospects even qualify. He admits the points record might not be the best measure of skill, but he reveals the all-time high score is 115,000 points, a record set just last year by Kazunari Tsutsumi. The name instantly clicks for Itsuki. He remembers his friends talking about the strongest awakened hero. The man warns him not to get ahead of himself, but admits his raw talent could potentially rival even Kazunari's. With unshakable resolve, Itsuki declares that he won't just rival him, he will shatter Kazunari Tsutsumi's record. The general is taken aback by the kid's sheer audacity, but recognizes the raw potential simmering beneath that arrogance. He proclaims that someone with Itsuki's fire will become the very dawn humanity is crying out for. A glimmer of hope ignites in Izumi's eyes as he whispers that the rising sun he's been waiting for has finally broken the horizon. The scene cuts, dropping them in front of a massive, otherworldly structure. Itsuki just stares, asking, "What in the world is this place?" Izumi lays out the grim reality: the monuments are actually portals. If they aren't demolished, an endless horde of monsters will keep pouring through. The general adds that this entire building exists to contain the monuments they can't destroy, repurposing them as a high-stakes training ground. Itsuki gets it. It's basically a deadly gym. Izumi's tone drops, warning him that these stages are lethally dangerous. He then cautions the kid, known as the Rookie Graveyard. He then drops a bombshell, Kazunari. Back in his rookie days, blitzed this stage in just 3 minutes and 14 seconds. With that, the general throws down the gauntlet, telling him that if he really wants to beat the record, he has to clear it in under 3 minutes. Izumi then makes a promise. If he can actually clear the stage in that time frame, he'll personally take him on as his disciple. As they step inside, everyone is in shock, gawking at the legendary Izumi walking in with some no-name rookie. Our protagonist immediately gets it. This guy is way more famous than he ever could have guessed. He glances at a nearby panel and sees that the monsters inside are all level 10, way stronger than some generic skeleton. The awakened in the lobby are all whispering, betting he's just another poser who won't even dare to step inside. Totally ignoring the haters, he strolls up to the counter and coolly tells the receptionist he's here to enter the stage. The woman just looks him over and asks for his party size, but he hits her with the news that he's challenging it solo. The entire lobby goes dead silent, absolutely floored by this kid's insane audacity. The receptionist just snaps, yelling at him to quit messing around because this isn't a playground. The crowd absolutely erupts in laughter, jeering that there's always some clueless newbie who gets in over his head and gets wrecked, but he calmly explains that she's got it all wrong, because his one and only goal is to clear the stage. Exhausted, the woman tells him to drop the act and even offers him her number if he'll just leave. His whole vibe shifts, his face darkening as he repeats that he couldn't care less about her number, he just needs her to open the gate. Genuinely spooked now, the woman shoves the device at him, but warns him that his funeral isn't her problem if he dies in there. The crowd keeps mocking him, saying, "A level 0 rookie trying to solo a level 10 dungeon isn't a challenge, it's a death wish." But others argue that even if he has some busted special gift, his level is just pitifully low for this. He walks up to the gate, ready to scan his wristband and begin his trial. Just like that, his entry is confirmed and the colossal door groans open. Once he's inside, he steels himself and mutters, "The promise is to clear this in 3 minutes." The timer flares to life, officially kicking off his impossible challenge. An insane aura explodes from him as he blasts forward, refusing to waste even a fraction of a second. He immediately spots the monument, realizing this artificial space is a massive and brutal arena. Just then, he feels it an enemy presence, and they're coming. A tree spirit lunges at him, but Itsuki greets it with a ferocious blast of ice. He then conjures a massive axe and cleaves the creature clean in two with one savage swing. With a taunting smirk, he yells out, "So how does it feel watching your friend get split down the middle?" That gets their attention. A whole swarm of monsters bursts out, their furious screams echoing as they completely surround our protagonist. Meanwhile, outside, the woman asks, why on earth Izumi let him walk into such a high-level death trap? Izumi simply explains that to surpass a monster like Tsutsumi, you have to shatter the very limits of humanity. Hearing that name, the woman remembers the time she saw Tsutsumi effortlessly obliterate a level 97 monster. She describes his eyes as chilling and desolate, almost as if they weren't human at all. She finishes saying his gaze was like that of a god, a divine, untouchable presence. Izumi agrees, the kid has that same potential, but right now he's just a diamond in the rough. He adds that if Tsutsumi is a god, then Itsuki is a demon, his polar opposite. Back in the arena, our hero is tearing through the mob, noticing his special skill didn't even activate on them. But just as he finishes, a colossal shadow looms behind him, revealing the true monstrous boss of the area. Without a moment's hesitation, the protagonist launches himself forward and hammers the creature with a devastating ice attack. The monster crashes to the floor defeated, and he wonders if that's really all it took. But this feels way too easy for a stage nicknamed the Rookie Graveyard. Something is seriously wrong here. His system then pings, detecting the monster's regeneration skill and immediately starting to analyze it. All of a sudden, he hears a bizarre noise and realizes this fight is far from over. The creature's body pulls itself back together, reforming into an even bigger, more menacing version of itself. The protagonist is in absolute shock. The beast just healed, even after having half its head blown off. He gets it. Now this won't be easy, especially since the monster's stats have just skyrocketed. To protect himself, he throws up his black ice wall, barely blocking the creature's next brutal assault. To shut down its healing for good, he needs to dish out an insane amount of damage all at once, so he prepares a final assault, dual-wielding his blades. He flashes forward, dicing the monster into dozens of pieces with a blindingly fast attack. His final slash bisects the creature perfectly, with surgical precision. The monster's eyes flare with rage, glaring at him one last time before it completely crumbles apart. With a confident smirk, he declares that he sliced it so thin, there's no way it can regenerate. He raises his sword high and slashes the remains once more, this time vertically. The creature's pieces explode, finally and truly obliterated by our hero. The battle won. He feels his mana draining hard from maintaining the defensive wall. But to his absolute horror, the monster regenerates yet again, now twisting into a writhing mass of tentacles. He desperately dodges the whipping attacks, genuinely impressed that the beast still isn't dead after all that punishment. But he notices something crucial with each regeneration. The analysis speed of his new skill jumps up. He drops the wall to conserve what little mana he has left, and decides to play keep away, until the analysis hits 100%. But the clock is ticking down, and he knows he has to be faster if he's going to win. He gambles, activating his lightning and ice skills together, planning to attack and defend at the exact same time. He understands that, if that skill doesn't unlock before his mana runs dry, he's dead. But he accepts the risk, thinking that if he dies here, then this was just the absolute limit of his power. With his eyes glowing a fierce red, he pours every last ounce of his strength into one final desperate charge. His all-out strike slams into the creature dead on, but it holds its incredible resilience on full display. Despite everything he threw at it, he couldn't pierce its defense, and he curses his failure. Vicious tentacles impale his body, and he feels his mana finally hit zero. But in that last dying second, the analysis completes. The system reveals the new skill requires 0 mana. A brilliant blue lotus erupts from his body, and just like that, he unlocks a brand new ability, Lotus Burst. It's a devastating area of effect explosion, and the more mana he pumps in, the bigger the boom. A surge of power courses through him. Every single stat skyrockets by 20 points, and his injuries vanish in an instant. The beast stares him down, ready for round 2. But he's not even sweating. He just triggers his new OP ability. With a single snap of his fingers, he unleashes a wave of pure destruction that blankets the entire arena. A colossal inferno of raw energy erupts, completely swallowing the monster whole. The stage boss is vaporized. Not a trace left. This time, there's no coming back for the beast. A smug grin spreads across his face as he marvels at the absolute power of his newfound skill. He then notices something wild. His mana, which should be totally drained, is already replenishing. And then glowing in the center of the devastation, a brilliant green stone materializes. He's totally captivated by it. Meanwhile, outside, the receptionist is freaking out. The clock is ticking down, and he's still in there. The general's assistant scoffs, convinced there's no way he can pull this off in under 3 minutes. To her, the task is a complete fantasy. But then, bam! The entire monitor flashes green, blasting an alert. A new record has just been shattered. The woman's jaw hits the floor. She's in total disbelief, wondering if he actually clutched it. The panel confirms it, locking in his time, 2 minutes and 56 seconds. The gate finally slides open, and there he is, our hero sprawled on the ground, completely drained from the fight. The crowd erupts, absolutely stunned, that he not only survived, but also smashed the legendary Tsutsumi's record. Itsuki slowly pushes himself to his feet. He looks over at Azumi and asks if he's a man of his word. With a triumphant grin on his bruised face, Azumi officially calls him sensei. Azumi is beaming with pride, and the assistant can't remember the last time she saw her father look so genuinely happy. The crowd starts to buzz. They figure the only reason he won is because he's Azumi's student, and they start trash-talking his future prospects. Just then, the receptionist timidly walks up to him. She apologizes for doubting him and offers him a small gift. He takes it, telling her that her worrying just proves she's a decent person. His simple thank you leaves her a blushing, stuttering mess. The assistant snaps him out of it. She yells that they're leaving and to get a move on or he's getting left behind. She then lectures him, telling him not to let this win go to his head. Just because he's her dad's student now doesn't mean he's all that. But Izumi interjects, saying with his current skill set, he's ready for an advanced stage. The general clarifies that a monster's level isn't the only thing that makes it dangerous. He lays it out: the species is what really matters. Mindless beasts are one thing, but there are species with intelligence. And those are on a completely different level, far more lethal than your average monster. The assistant chimes in, adding that only humans possess classes, which are the source of all their powers. She warns him that an advanced stage is crawling with these intelligent monsters, and that's exactly where he's headed next. A sadistic glint appears in his eye, as he wonders aloud if intelligent monsters can feel pain when they're attacked. The woman is genuinely creeped out by his terrifying vibe. She has no idea what kind of dark thoughts are brewing in his mind. Elsewhere, a group of guys are whispering about some dude who runs this entire area, and apparently offs anyone who sets foot in his territory. One of them tells his buddy to shut his trap, warning him that if the guy overhears him, he'll be next. And there he is, Raiji Kinoshita, the son of the crime lord, who controls the entire North 4th District. One of his lackeys asks when he's planning on leaving, but he just smirks, saying he'll go when he feels like it. With a completely punchable smile, he declares that waiting in line is something only peasants do. Meanwhile, Itsuki carefully opens a small ornate box, revealing a little stone that pulses with a brilliant light. The scene cuts to them chilling in a garden, and the memory of that moment washes over the boy. Izumi Hento holds up the stone, and asks if he's ever seen a karma stone like this before. Our protagonist realizes he has. A similar one dropped from that monster he just defeated. In a flashback, we see him holding a much larger glowing green crystal. The blue-haired woman is floored. A stone like that has no business being there. She offers to break it down for him, explaining that it's basically a pure XP stone. See, karma is the energy released from monsters that people absorb to level up. Karma stones are just condensed versions of that energy, bottled up into a usable item. But the young woman is still scratching her head because these stones are never supposed to form on their own. And that's when Izumi Hento drops a bomb. He suggests it probably materialized because of Itsuki's unique gift. The boy and the woman just stare at him, completely lost. The man in the helmet explains that since Itsuki didn't absorb the karma himself, the energy had to go somewhere. It couldn't just vanish into thin air. He points out that the karma from the school incident was spread out among all the awakened people present, but since Itsuki was fighting in a sealed-off dimension, all that raw energy solidified, crystallizing into the stone. The young woman then asks the million-dollar question: how does he boost his stats without leveling up, leaving Itsuki silent? But Izumi Hento shuts her down fast, warning her that some secrets are not meant to be shared. He tells Itsuki he can either sell the stone for a fortune or keep it, and that from now on, Agaha will have his back. Before taking off, the man lays down 4 ground rules, including keeping his gift a top secret. With a sly grin, Itsuki agrees and calls him master officially, sealing their new alliance. The scene then jumps to a training ground, where some students are getting blocked from entering by a group of thugs. One of the goons is running his mouth, claiming the Kinoshita family booked the whole place. For the entire day, the student threatens to report them to the guild, but a massive shadow with glowing red eyes materializes right behind him. Suddenly, some blonde kid launches a skill attack. He soars right at the new guy, but the masked man Kazunari just casually catches the full force of the blow, with one hand not even breaking a sweat. Faster than you can blink, he claps back with a brutal shot that slams right into the student. The blonde dude is floored, screaming that his B-rank skill did literally nothing. Kazunari just scoffs, saying it didn't even tickle. With eyes blazing with fury, the kid is straight up terrified, thinking to himself that this dude's an actual monster. Fueled by raw rage, Kazunari snatches him by the collar, ready to serve up a serious reality check. Without a second thought, he unleashes a devastating haymaker, knocking the blonde student clean out. The crowd gasps as it clicks. That's Ogata K, one of Raiji's top enforcers. He then hoists the kid up, making it clear that anyone else who steps out of line gets the exact same treatment. The 2 students are left sprawled on the pavement, and Uga bellows a warning that nobody better even think about helping them. Seeing the carnage, his lackeys just laugh, telling him to take it easy. Disgusted, Uga tosses the kid aside like trash, proving he wasn't there to play games. But right at that moment, Itsuki and his partner step onto the scene, helping the battered student up. The onlookers are stunned, not getting why a level 0 would ever get mixed up in something like this. Uga shoots him a death glare, warning the new guy to scram if he knows what's good for him. Itsuki knows that to get in, he's got to take down this brute first, but he tells himself that's not why he's fighting. His master taught him to always fight for what's right. With total composure, he hands the injured student to a bystander, asking them to look after him. Suddenly, a menacing aura erupts from Itsuki, his status window flickering to reveal a special class. Uga feels the crushing pressure, completely baffled as to how a level 0 could radiate this much power. He flies into a rage, refusing to be punked by someone who's supposed to be so much weaker. Uga's glare turns venomous, absolutely seething that this nobody has the nerve to challenge him. In the reflection of his eye, he sees a blur. Itsuki is already charging in for a surprise attack. The kid lands a solid right hook square on the brute's jaw. The crowd loses it, wondering if he's really a level 0. But Itsuki's knuckles slam into something like solid steel. Uga activated his defense. Taking a step back, he realizes the guy just tanked the hit with the metallized skill. With now metallic hands, Uga clamps down on his fist, complimenting the boy's speed but warning him that it's useless without power, and sends Itsuki flying with a blow that cracks the pavement. Hurled backward, our hero thinks he's going to have to tap into his lightning ability to win this. At that very moment, his copy skill kicks in, launching an analysis of the enemy's technique. Itsuki gets back to his feet, knowing it's time to go all out. He understands that defense is the real deal, so he decides his new game plan is to target the parts of the body that aren't metal. The boy digs his heels into the ground and launches himself forward in another lightning-fast assault. Uga starts trash-talking, calling the boy pathetic with no strength and no speed. But a smirk plays on Itsuki's lips because the enemy just dropped his guard. It was the perfect time to hit the accelerator. Crackling with lightning, Itsuki rockets forward, giving the enemy 0 time to defend. He starts to unleash a relentless storm of strikes, and his skill analysis percentage skyrockets. The crowd is bewildered, starting to believe this rookie might actually pull it off. Uga starts to freak out. The kid's speed is so overwhelming he can't even catch his breath. He tries to scream for backup, yelling at his goons to stop spectating and jump in. With no other option, the brute grits his teeth, deciding it's time to play his trump card. With a savage roar, he shreds his own shirt, unleashing his full power. The guy's entire body hardens into shimmering metal, and he actually thanks Itsuki for pushing him to evolve. He boasts that his defense is now over 500, turning him into a walking fortress. Sporting a twisted grin, he promises a swift death as a reward for the help. The onlookers are absolutely petrified, knowing that nobody at this level could even scratch that kind of defense. But Itsuki is already breaking down the situation, deducing that a transformation this intense must be a massive mana drain. Uga calls it nonsense, but inside, he's shook by the kid's spot-on intuition. With the analysis at 100%, Itsuki declares he's ending this now. His partner instantly recognizes the shifting aura, whispering that the blue lotus flower is about to bloom even brighter. The crowd is floored by the giant lotus of energy, having no idea how that could possibly defeat Uga. But the system flashes, analysis complete. He has acquired the piercing sphere skill. Itsuki sees that the ability bypasses all defense, and since his target is a sitting duck, the timing is perfect. With his eyes glowing, he vows to shatter that so-called absolute defense into 1,000,000 pieces. Upon acquiring the skill, all of his stats get a plus 10-point boost, juicing him up even more. Bathed in that ethereal blue aura, our protagonist conjures a sphere of dark energy in his palm. He then takes aim, and dares his opponent to even try and dodge the attack. The crowd wonders if a level 0 can really bust through that insane defense, but they're holding on to a sliver of hope. The small, dark sphere pulses with an intense light, concentrating an unbelievable power at its core. The attack slowly drifts towards Uga, who just stands there, arrogantly waiting for the impact. Seeing this, the audience groans, completely let down, thinking it's just some weak-looking little ball. Uga scoffs, thinking it's pathetic for the kid to try and beat him. With that, he stays put, oozing arrogance as the sphere creeps closer. The brute just smirks, warning him if this is his trump card, he's finished. This dude is about to get wrecked. The moment the sphere makes contact, it shreds through his metal skin like it's paper. Blood explodes from the wound as a raw scream rips from his throat. With the guy twitching on the pavement, Itsuki casually mentions he was just aiming for his arm. He had his chance to dodge. Itsuki's ice-cold glare sweeps over the goons, telling them to quit gawking and drag their boy to a hospital. Our protagonist then tells the whole crew to get lost. Absolutely petrified, the men snatch their boss and book it without a single glance back. The entire crowd goes wild, cheering for the rookie's absolutely insane victory. Blown away by his strength, two guys shoot their shot and invite Itsuki to team up. They try to sell him on the idea, warning him that the monsters on this stage are a whole different level of tough, but for Itsuki, that's music to his ears. He knows it's the perfect chance to level up his sphere's speed. They keep pressing him though, demanding to know what his move is going to be. With a dead serious look, he drops the bomb. "I'm going in solo." You could hear a pin drop as the crowd processes this. Figuring the win went straight to his head, the two dudes just give up, saying they'll go find another squad to run with. His partner questions him about the mana drain, but he just assures her he's got it handled. She gets all defensive, insisting she's not worried. She just doesn't want to get blamed if he bites it. Right before he goes, she warns him. The mobs move in packs and to watch his back. He slaps his hand on the panel, and his entry is approved. The second he's inside, he realizes he's up against way more enemies than he bargained for. These stone beasts looked seriously beefed up, rocking way higher levels and stats than the fodder outside. After scanning one of the creatures, he confirms its defense is tanky as hell. This is it, the perfect chance to test his piercing sphere's passive on these mobs. The sphere flares to life, humming with a dark purple energy that's hungry for action. He unleashes the dark sphere, sending it rocketing straight toward one of the stone monsters. The attack punches through the creature's rocky hide, effortlessly one-shotting it instantly. Just like that, the sphere's speed doubles, all according to plan. But the celebration is cut short when a dozen more stone monsters crawl from the earth, boxing him in completely. He just sees them as perfect practice dummies, slow and ideal for grinding his skill. Riding the new speed buff, he zips around and shatters two more, and his sphere's power levels up again. He leaps onto a pile of rubble for a better vantage point, only to realize his mana is running on fumes. More enemies are closing in and the boss is still a no-show. With time running out, he knows he has to take down two monsters with one shot. Itsuki pulls a galaxy brain move, ricocheting the sphere off the ground to create a decoy that baits two of the monsters. The second they take the bait, he vaults out of the way, shouting for them to walk right into his trap. A savage look crosses his face as he roars that he's about to drop the final blow he's been cooking up. The sphere erupts from the ground. It skewers both beasts clean through ramping up its speed one last time. Utterly spent, he collapses to the ground. Man, a skill to regen energy would be clutch right now. He glances at his status screen and sees the sphere is now fast enough to tag any target. The system screen flashes maximum flight speed buff achieved. But before he can even breathe, a colossal stone fist plummets from the sky. It catches Itsuki completely by surprise, slamming into the earth with unbelievable force and sending a shockwave of rock flying. From the dust, the stage boss finally emerges, a level 15 stone golem. Seeing how massive this thing is, he pops his Thunderwave skill to crank his agility into overdrive. He sprints up the beast's enormous body, seriously doubting his little sphere has enough power to even dent something this huge. He figures the head has to be the giant's only weak spot, and right then, he spots a tiny opening in its guard. He launches his sphere with every last bit of his strength, but it's just too small and barely even scratches the colossal monster. Seeing him exposed mid-air, the golem retaliates with a brutal swat, meant to flatten him. Itsuki's heart sinks. He knows he's a sitting duck. With zero options left, he desperately throws up his black ice wall to block the fatal blow. The impact is catastrophic. It doesn't just break his defense, it atomizes it into a million pieces. He's sent flying, crashing hard against the rocks. He's got to admit the brute hits harder than it looks. That's when his copy skill pings, locking onto the monster's ability and starting the analysis. Even injured Itsuki cracks a smirk. He gets it now, the monster used a skill to become a giant. And with that, the scene cuts to a lavish mansion. A servant takes a call, and his face goes pale with shock. With an ice-cold glare, Reiji Kinoshita tells the man not to make a scene in front of him. The man stammers out an apology as his boss demands to know what all the commotion is about. He explains that nobody just wrecked the Royal Fang and invaded their private training area. Pure rage flashes in Reiji's eyes as he slams his fist on the table. He wonders if it was an awakened over level 30. But his servant informs him that all the top-tier hunters are busy. Only rookies were on site. He finds it impossible that a level 10 could pull this off. Reiji orders him to dig deeper and find out who did it. His guy then says there's no need explaining that the dungeon will take a while to clear, giving them time to get there. Reiji shoots him a death glare and snarls, "We're going. Now. No more excuses." The man sweating bullets is terrified by the order and immediately agrees. Standing up, Reiji vows he will make them deeply regret ever crossing the Kinoshita family. And we cut back to the fight. The scan completes. A wave of relief washes over Itsuki. His days of endlessly running are finally over. But just as he exhales, a luminous blue lotus emblem flares to life on the golem's forehead. The system interface flashes. The analysis of the gigantification skill was a total success. He glances down and sees his piercing sphere has just hit level 2, and it comes with a brand new effect. The passive speed had doubled, but the real game changer, he could now manipulate its size. Hyped, he decides to test it on the spot. The system then floods his body with healing energy. On top of that, every single one of his stats gets a clean 20-point boost, making him feel a surge of raw power. He immediately pours every last drop of his mana into forging the largest piercing sphere he can possibly handle. The colossal orb of energy materializes, and then unleashes a devastating beam of pure, absurd power. The blast rips straight through the golem's core from head to toe, completely obliterating it. Drained of all his mana, Itsuki cracks a small, satisfied smirk. He thinks to himself that he might have gone a little overboard. The system confirms his victory, and his sphere's speed gets another insane 200% boost. He does some quick math in just 2 more rounds. His attack will be moving as fast as a car. Clutching the Karma Stone, it dawns on him that the passive buffs are way more valuable. That's when he remembers his Lotus Burst skill. Also extends the range of his abilities. The skill's passive is wild. For every enemy he takes down, its reach grows even further. He starts to imagine it one day, he'll be sniping targets from miles away. Outside, the massive screen flashes, announcing his triumph, shattering the previous record by a full 3 minutes. The crowd is in utter shock. He just demolished the time set by the monster Kazunari, who is watching as he walks out. Everyone thinks the whole situation is sus. How did a level 0 newbie emerge without a single scratch on him? His partner is beaming, totally impressed that he smashed the record and came out unscathed once again. "That was unbelievably fast," she comments. Itsuki just shrugs. The monster was a pushover. His gaze then lands on a shimmering butterfly perched on her hand. "Whoa, what's that?" The girl reveals she's a Shikigami user and that the creature is hers. Itsuki's jaw just about hits the floor. No way, he breathes. "I've never seen one up close before. It's beautiful." Seizing the moment, he asks about the different classes. The question completely throws her. She explains that all classes fall into one of 4 main types, and he's already run into 3 of them. The first is the Elementalist, which is the most common class out there. They pack the most raw firepower from the get-go. She reminds him of his classmate who wielded the lightning element. That brute from before Auga was the same type, which is how he was able to manipulate metal. Next, she moves on to the second class, Shikigami users who summon beasts to fight alongside them. She properly introduces herself as Agatha Izumi, a Shikigami user, and her companion, the Jade Butterfly. With a friendly smile, she asks if he has any questions, but Itsuki cuts straight to the point. "Why is your level lower than your butterflies?" The question leaves her completely floored in disbelief at his absolute cluelessness. She takes a moment to compose herself, then explains that Shikigami gain their own experience and level up independently. A dark look flashes across Itsuki's face. A cold realization hits him: you just have to focus on taking down the master. A sudden chill runs right down Agatha's spine, terrified by that sinister aura that's leaking from him again. He breaks the tension, asking about the classes she still hadn't covered. The girl's expression turns thoughtful as she says the third class is, by far, the most mysterious of them all. She then reveals that his class, the Order Breaker, is one of them. Agatha explains that his class is a total enigma because of their insane one-of-a-kind abilities like his lotus flower. Some can literally alter their body size, while others can create what seems like an infinite number of clones. While normal skills cap out at S-rank Order Breakers, possess skills that are Z-rank. She admits that's why her father chewed her out. The secrecy of their skills is their greatest weapon, but she considers him an exception, since he's already using at least 3 different elementalist skills. Itsuki feels a spike of anxiety thinking that if his master ever found out about this chat, he'd be in a world of hurt. He then tries to pry about the final class, but she's keeping that info on lockdown. A sly smile plays on her lips as she says she'll only tell him when he meets a user in the flesh. The boy simply agrees. She then takes the chance to let him know the student he rescued is doing just fine. Then she pivots, asking about his next move. He tells her he wants to run the stage again to grind for more power, but she informs him the stage is on cooldown and won't reopen for another 2 days. Visibly frustrated, he asks if there's any other stage with a huge number of monsters available. A mischievous glint appears in her eyes. She tells him she knows the perfect place for him to go right now. She introduces him to the Locust Desert, a zone infamous for its absolutely insane monster population. She challenges him, pointing out that he doesn't have a single area of effect skill, but he accepts the mission without a moment's hesitation. The rest of the group is worried, but Itsuki just says he'll manage even without an AoE skill. They are completely stunned by the boy's sheer courage, but decide to dip to stay out of trouble. A short while later, Raiji storms into the area, but finds nobody there to corner. His subordinate informs him that the target has already vanished, leaving Raiji baffled by his incredible speed. He can't believe his entire plan has fallen apart. He's furious at being played for a fool and becomes dead set on getting his revenge. He screams for his servant to summon a tracker and hunt the boy down, vowing with venom in his voice to drag him back alive and make him suffer. Meanwhile, a wounded man is bleeding out in a filthy alley, totally kicking himself for ever taking this gig. He lets out a shaky breath, glad he managed to get away. A split second slower, and he knows he'd be dead meat. Thinking he's in the clear, he starts to relax, but a low growl from the shadows makes his blood run cold. A colossal wolf, with glowing red eyes, launches itself at him, ready to tear him to shreds. The beast sinks its teeth into him, without a shred of mercy, mauling him so badly there's no hope of getting away. Just then, a mysterious figure steps out of the darkness and tells the wolf to take it easy, saying he needs to get some information first. Completely shook, the wounded man sputters out, asking how in the world they found him in this back alley. The man in the hat just smirks. He says his wolf has one hell of a nose. He introduces himself as Charles the Wolf Dog, and adds that he can smell the reek of death. Desperate, the man starts pleading for his life, begging not to die like this, but Charles just shuts him down, saying Kinoshita would be pissed. And besides, his wolf was getting hungry. A wicked grin spreads across his face as he gives his wolf the command. Dinner time. The creature lunges its massive fangs, aimed right for the man's throat. After the bloody meal, a status window pops into view. It shows that he's finally leveled up. He then whips out his phone and tells someone on the other end that the job is officially done. Charles's eyes widen when he hears Ugo got injured, and he immediately says he's on his way. With a cruel smile, he tells his wolf they have fresh prey to hunt. We cut to Itsuki, who has just arrived in a total wasteland, known as the Locust Desert, looking around and wondering if this is really the place. He scans the barren fields. He's skeptical, questioning if there can really be that many locusts out here. His companion explains that these disaster beasts invade environments they find comfortable. She also points out that there's not even a cell signal, because the area's danger level is through the roof. Itsuki is confused, since the level seems low, but she clarifies that's not the real threat. Turns out the monsters here are insanely aggressive, and their numbers are just ridiculous. She warns him that if he lets his guard down for a single second, he'll be completely swarmed, and in the end, they'd strip him down to the bone. But Itsuki just cracks a smile. He's actually hyped that there are so many monsters for him to grind. With a look of pure confidence, he says he's not about to die by getting eaten by a bunch of bugs. Seeing his attitude, she just watches him step through the portal, figuring he'll probably be fine. She thinks to herself that he went in alone, so whatever happens is on him, but then a wave of panic washes over her. She realizes she forgot to warn him about the most critical detail they never stop coming. Freaking out, she knows she has to go in there. She has to tell our protagonist. But just as she moves toward the portal, 2 shady figures appear out of nowhere, blocking her path. A mysterious man, with a sinister aura, steps forward. He says he's searching for someone here. The scene cuts away, and we're with Itsuki now deep inside the desert. He finds the place eerily abandoned. With a confident smirk, he claps his hands together and shouts for the pests to wake up, because he's here to wipe them all out. He can tell the monsters are weak, but that makes them perfect for farming his skill. Lotus Burst. His analysis tags them as malignant locusts, with laughably low levels. We're talking level 1 and 2. All of a sudden, a biblical swarm of insects blots out the sky, hurtling directly toward him, but he just thinks this is perfect. He calmly creates a lotus flower, made of pure energy, between his palms. His strategy is simple: wait for the entire swarm to gather around him, so he can annihilate them all in a single massive blast. The second the swarm completely engulfs him, he yells now, and unleashes all his stored-up power. With that, Lotus Burst activates, erupting in a flash of light that devastates everything in its path. A flood of notifications appears on his screen. Each one confirms that every locust he defeats expands his skill's effective range. He stands in the middle of the destruction. He's just observing the insane aftermath of his attack. It's explained that the skill has a passive effect, boosting its range with every single kill. Seeing the 110% bonus, he realizes he just vaporized 110 monsters in one shot. With a grin, he calculates he can use this move 10 more times, aiming for a wild 1000% increase. He thinks that if this skill didn't have a cooldown, it would be completely broken. But then it hits him that it's weird the success message hasn't appeared. He starts getting a bad feeling. Right on cue, a screen pops up announcing that a C-rank skill, called Mother's Will, has been activated. Itsuki spins around, shocked, unable to process how anything could have survived his attack. Suddenly, the ground erupts, as even bigger locusts claw their way to the surface, boxing him in from every direction. One of them lunges, and he realizes he got way too cocky, assuming there wasn't a boss. The big problem now was that he had zero clue where the boss was, which made things a lot more complicated. He decides he'll just have to kill all the small fries. The plan is to force the boss to show itself. With that, he unleashes the burst again, triggering another wave of range increase notifications. His bonus skyrockets to 220%, making the skill's radius absolutely enormous. The system window shows that the attack now covers a 16-meter diameter. But even after wiping out another 110 monsters, the boss is still a no-show. The camera pans deep underground, revealing a pulsating nest filled with eggs from which an endless stream of new monsters was being born. As the boss analysis crawls forward, another wave of locusts erupts from the ground. A quick glance at his mana bar sends a jolt of anxiety through Itsuki. He's only got enough fuel for 9 more of those big attacks. Stealing his nerves, Itsuki summons his flames, his voice a low growl. "I don't care how many of you crawl out, I'm finishing this right here." His knuckles turn white as he clenches his fist, roaring that he'll wipe every last one of them off the face of the planet. He unleashes a single, devastating burst, and system notifications flood his vision, celebrating a massive increase to his skill's range. Without a moment's hesitation, he fires off another, and another. A rapid-fire sequence of explosive bursts designed to sanitize the entire area. The system flashes a 990% range bonus, but the constant output is draining him fast. He checks his reserves. It's not good. He can only pull off one more burst. To his absolute horror, a fresh, seemingly infinite swarm materializes, and a wave of frustration washes over him. With the main boss still a no-show, he seriously considers just bailing and trying again some other time. But he instantly crushes that thought. No. Retreating is for scrubs. With a fire reignited in his eyes, he braces himself for one last stand. "I will slaughter every beast in my path," he declares, unleashing a final spectacular lotus burst. He collapses to his knees completely, spent every last drop of his energy gone. He thinks it's finally over, but his blood runs cold when he sees the locusts are still swarming. Their numbers haven't dropped at all. Then it clicks. A light bulb goes off in his head as he realizes every single monster is level 1. The analysis finally completes, revealing the Locust Queen and her terrifying ability, Infinite Reproduction. He now gets it. Fighting the minions is totally pointless without taking out the boss. They just keep multiplying. Right then, as the analysis wraps up, a sphere of light shatters, and the process finishes. Just like that, he unlocks Mana Detection, a skill that not only finds enemies, but also completely restores his energy. A slow smile spreads across his face. This is the perfect cheat code for a stage this busted. But then he remembers Ajha is waiting. He needs to wrap this up and fast. The new skill surges through him instantly, healing his wounds and maxing out all his power stats. Back at 100%, he immediately activates his new detection ability to finally pinpoint the true boss of this nightmare. Waves of ethereal blue energy pulse outwards, scanning the entire field for any trace of mana. The pulse travels deep, finally revealing the Locust Queen's location, hiding deep underground. His eyes practically glow with power. "There you are," he says with a predator's grin. He conjures a sphere of crackling dark energy, taking dead aim at the Queen's hidden position. The queen senses the danger and tries to use her own children as a meat shield, but he sees right through the pathetic tactic. That won't work, he yells, launching an energy lotus, programmed with a single mission to reach her. The system confirms the attack has a range of 120 meters, more than enough to hit the mark. It strikes true piercing straight through the queen and ending the insectoid menace in a single shot. Cloaked in lightning as his armor materializes, he rockets forward to finish the job. With a supremely confident smirk, he gets right in the dying enemy's face and declares, "Checkmate." In one fluid, brutal motion, he plunges his hand through the queen's carapace, a fatal and grisly final blow. As the leader dies, he watches the entire locust swarm descend into absolute chaos. Igniting his hand with flames, he tells the remaining bugs he's sending them to go meet their mother. His system screen flashes, showing his skill range has now skyrocketed past 1200%. He's definitely satisfied with that outcome, and makes a mental note to come back and grind this effect even higher. Stepping out of the portal, he checks the time: 17 minutes. He winces, worrying that he's kept Ajha waiting too long. He can already picture it. She'll give him the cold shoulder even though she's secretly just glad he's safe. He honestly finds her tsundere act kinda cute, and gets ready to announce his triumphant return. But in an instant, his vision goes red with a rage he's never known. He sees Ajha bruised and held hostage by a strange man, who casually asks if he's the one Raji was looking for. The villain explains how he tried to grill her for info, but even after getting roughed up, she didn't spill a single thing. Every muscle in Itsuki's body tenses. "Let her go," he says, his voice dangerously low, "or I'll do a lot more than just beat you up." But the guy just laughs in his face, telling the level 0 rookie not to get cocky. In less than a blink, Itsuki is a blur of motion cloaked in lightning and surging forward to erase him. The villain's smug expression vanishes, replaced by pure shock at his insane speed. He can feel death itself rushing toward him, but out of nowhere, a colossal demon dog materializes, taking the full force of the blow with its own head. Itsuki instantly recognizes the creature as a Shinigami, which means this creep is a summoner. The man analyzes his speed, a look of understanding on his face. "Ah, so that's how Uga lost." A wicked smirk returns to his face. "Looks like I have a demon dog and a hostage," he says, tightening his grip on Ajha's neck. Itsuki's focus shatters as he instinctively yells her name, creating the exact opening the monster needed. The dog's jaws unhinge, ready to clamp down and tear his arm from its socket. The villain sneers. Best case scenario, you only lose an arm. But in the next second, the man's eyes go wide with disbelief, unable to process what's happening right in front of him. With his other hand, Itsuki has shoved a super-condensed sphere of energy directly down the demonic creature's throat. The energy detonates from the inside, completely vaporizing the dog's head and killing it on the spot. Itsuki's eyes lock onto the enemy, knowing that without his pet Shinigami, this guy is totally exposed. The villain just scoffs. "You seriously don't know?" he asks. "Did you really think that would be enough to kill it?" It's then explained that the dog has a rebirth skill that drastically shortens its respawn time. As if on cue, the monstrous body begins to stir, and the man calls out to it, to keep from becoming chow for this dude's Shinigami. But Itsuki's not going down that easy. He blasts out a wave of detection energy, pinging the entire battlefield. He smirks, revealing he had his detection running the whole time, a total pro-gamer move, and the analysis is almost complete. He's holding back his blue lotus, playing it cool so the villain doesn't suspect a thing. But this dude is already shook. Itsuki's got the power, the speed, and a cheat code detection skill. Panicking, the villain grabs Agaya, threatening her life and screaming at Itsuki to back the hell off. Itsuki makes a split-second call. He'll finish the scan without unleashing his trump card. And just like that, a system notification pops up. Skill acquisition complete. He's just unlocked Shinigami Devourer, a busted new ability that lets him literally yoink enemy summons. He can feel the connection. The creature is his to command now. But wait, there are no healing buffs, no stat boosts. No big deal though. He's already at 100% health. He gets it now. This new power lets him straight up hijack other people's Shinigami. Armed with this game-changing skill, he's ready to completely flip the script. A sphere of raw energy materializes in his palm. Itsuki lunges, pouring every ounce of his being into the charge, and roaring that he's taking that dog for himself. He slams a devastating blow into the creature. His energy surges, wrapping around the beast like a shroud. With one final earth-shattering impact, he punts the Shinigami, sending it flying right back at its old master. The villain is absolutely livid, screaming at his own summon about how worthless it is. Cornered, he resorts to his only move, threatening to snap Agaya's neck if Itsuki moves a muscle. But Agaya, bleeding and broken, grits her teeth, telling him not to worry about her. Seeing this, Itsuki's face hardens. He raises his hands in surrender. "All right, you win," he says. "Just don't touch her." A smug, victorious smirk spreads across the villain's face. "See, all this could have been avoided if you just listened." Itsuki just cuts him off, demanding to know why they're hunting him. He can't remember crossing anyone. The villain sneers. "Raiji Kinoshita is pissed you entered his dungeon without an invitation." That name again. Raiji. Itsuki's eyes narrow with grim determination. Fine. He'll settle things with this guy personally. The villain just laughs in his face, warning him that the Shinigami will rip his legs off without mercy. He then barks an order at the creature, tear off both his legs, but Itsuki's gaze is pure ice. He looks the dog dead in the eye and commands, "Show me you're worthy of serving me." The ultimate betrayal. The creature whips around and lunges, not at Itsuki, but at its former master, whose face contorts in pure, unadulterated terror. In that split second of chaos, Itsuki moves like lightning, sweeping Agaya into his arms and out of harm's way. The villain is absolutely losing it. He shrieks, asking why his own Shinigami turned on him. Itsuki just gives the beast an approving nod. The dog now knows who its new master is. Looking at Agaya's wounds, a storm of fury brews in Itsuki's eyes. He vows to return every bit of her pain 100 times over. The man officially starts to panic. He starts groveling, pleading that he can lure Raiji into a trap. A chilling smile plays on Itsuki's lips as he says it's a very tempting offer. Thinking he's been fooled, the villain's face splits into a greasy grin as he shouts that Itsuki fell for his trap. He then hurls an attack crystal. "Just die already," he screams. But Itsuki's response is ice cold. "I'm more than enough to kill Raiji by myself." With that, he gives a single command to his new pet: "Make him suffer." The man immediately starts begging for forgiveness. He pleads for one more chance, claiming it was just a slip-up. But the creature stalks toward him slow and menacing, ready to carry out its new master's order. In a blind panic, he tries to remind the dog that he was its master, that he fed it for years. It's useless. The beast opens its massive jaws to devour him. No mercy. Itsuki doesn't even watch the gruesome scene because he senses they haven't been alone this whole time. He calls out into the shadows, "How long are you going to hide? Show yourself." The scene cuts away, and we see there was in fact someone perched on top of a nearby structure. A mysterious hooded guy appears. "So you noticed me," the figure says. Itsuki still cradling. Agaya asks if he's a friend of the guy who just became dog food. The blonde dude starts waving his hands, frantically denying it, and desperately asking our hero to hear him out. But Itsuki doesn't have time for this. He tells his new dog to follow him after it's done eating. The young man watches the beast, thinking that maybe this powerful stranger could be his salvation. He rushes to introduce himself as Iberia, complimenting the incredible fight and recognizing Itsuki as someone famous. He offers up rewards, mana stones, powerful weapons, anything in exchange for help, but Itsuki completely ignores him. Iberia is totally stumped. This isn't what his master taught him. A flashback sequence kicks in, showing a grizzled blacksmith. The smith explains that rewards have to be smart and useful. He said the right move is to offer a blade to someone who seeks revenge, or medicine to the injured. With this memory, a light bulb goes off over Iberia's head. He knows exactly what he needs to do. He sprints after them, warning that Agaya is going to die because the nearest hospital is way too far. With a sly grin, he reveals a shiny healing item. "Lucky for you, I have one of these," he says, then shouts that he can save her, which finally makes Itsuki stop in his tracks. Our protagonist spins around in shock, asking if he's telling the truth. Iberia warns that he can't fully heal her right now. "But I can save her life," he declares, applying a special bandage to Agaya's wound and explaining it's no ordinary item. Itsuki is confused, and Iberia figures it's normal since he must have just awakened. We're told that modern weapons can't even scratch these beasts. That's why these special tools exist. This gear is divided into 4 levels, from normal all the way up to the super rare stuff. So you've got your basic gear, think of it like a starter weapon that can at least scratch the monsters. Then you level up to rare equipment, which gives you a small boost to your stats. You know, a little bump in speed or mana. But epic gear, that's where things get real. It amps up your stats and comes packed with some seriously OP special abilities. And at the absolute pinnacle, you have unique equipment, the holy grail, every single artisan on the planet dreams of crafting. This is where Iberia starts his lecture, explaining that this is why crafters get so much respect from all the awakened. Then he starts flexing, saying his dad isn't just some random smith, since he's one of only 10 masters at that level in the entire world. With a massive grin, he reveals that 3 of those 10 legendary unique items were forged by his old man. This dude's father is literally known as the artisan king of the northern continent, but Iberia's epic monologue hits a wall. He suddenly gets heated, realizing Itsuki has completely zoned him out. Itsuki, meanwhile, just casually scoops up the crossbow off the floor, instantly recognizing it as the weapon Charles was rocking. Iberia is absolutely floored that the dude just ignored his whole flex about his legendary dad. As Itsuki inspects the crossbow, sizing up its potential, he notes it's a rare-grade weapon, but it's missing any arrows. Iberia chimes in, explaining that it magically generates its own ammo. Just then, the crossbow dematerializes and the blonde dude clarifies. That gear automatically gets stored in your inventory. Itsuki gives a quick thanks for the info dump and says he's got to bounce. He's now on the hunt for this Raiji character. The blonde kid thinks he's certifiably insane for trying to throw down with Raiji, but Itsuki just shoots back. "So what? I should just roll over and give up." But then Iberia drops a plot twist. Turns out they're both gunning for the same guy. He throws out an offer to team up for the upcoming tournament, a tournament that coincidentally Itsuki was already grinding for. Itsuki's confused, asking what any of this has to do with Raiji, and Iberia starts connecting the dots. The tournament is the battleground. We find out Raiji is the son of the freaking administrator, so him taking an L would be a massive public humiliation. Suddenly, it all clicks for Itsuki. That explains why the dude has a total monopoly on the dungeons. Still, he doesn't get why Iberia is so eager to help him. Iberia claims his gut is telling him Itsuki is a powerhouse, but Itsuki calls him out for being so impulsive. That's when the blonde's whole vibe shifts, and he gets dead serious. He begins to lay out exactly why this tournament is everything to him. A flashback pulls us into his past, showing him as a kid totally idolizing his father, who was a legendary weaponsmith. His ultimate dream was to awaken his powers, so he could finally wield the masterpieces his dad created. But when he finally did awaken, his father shot him down, saying it was too early. Those weapons were reserved only for true saviors. Iberia explains that, after basically begging, his dad laid down an ultimatum he had to conquer the tournament. His expression hardens with resolve, as he practically screams that this is why he absolutely has to crush the prelims. Itsuki thinks the whole thing is sus. With such a famous dad, why would he ever need to team up with a level 0 nobody? But Iberia clarifies that his father straight up banned him from using his family name to recruit powerful allies. He gripes that all the top-tier players have already been bought out by Raiji's crew, and everyone else is already squatted up. But then a rumor started. He heard whispers about some guy who not only smoked one of the kings but also shattered a record in the process. Itsuki finally agrees to the team-up, but on one condition: he's taking Ageha to the hospital first. Hyped Iberia instantly starts brainstorming a bunch of cringy team names, which is already getting on Itsuki's nerves. In that moment, Itsuki thinks back to his own friends, wondering if they jumped into the tournament too. The scene cuts, and we see Ryuto letting out a massive sneeze, right in the middle of some hardcore training. Saya asks if he's catching a cold, but he's convinced it's just Itsuki talking about him from afar. She looks concerned, wondering how long it's been and if Itsuki is holding up okay. Ryuto picks up on her vibe and starts teasing her, asking why she didn't just chase after him sooner. Annoyed, she lashes out with a whip made of water, but he dodges it by a hair's breadth. He yells that it was a cheap shot, but she claps back, saying it's his own fault for dropping his guard. Just then, their master shows up, dropping the news that the prelims kick off the day after tomorrow. With no more time to mess around, the two of them get fired up, ready for a real fight, and the system window flashes, displaying both of their current stats. Meanwhile, in another location, a shadowy figure grabs a briefcase jam-packed with experience stones. Raiji Kinoshita is on edge. He finds it sketchy that his goon still hasn't reported in at the rendezvous point. Fuming, he crushes one of the glowing stones, absorbing its power, while cursing his incompetent lackeys. He snaps at his crew to just forget the missing guy, as the tournament is the only thing that matters if he wants to avoid getting disciplined. His right-hand man informs him that they've already managed to convince 887 of the participants to play along with their scheme. Pleased with the numbers, Raiji tells his servant he's the only one who's actually reliable. With that settled, he pops the last of the experience stones, finally triggering another level up. Now sitting at level 12, he's feeling unstoppable, sneering that it's more than enough power to steamroll all the commoners. Back with our hero, Itsuki Tenma stands in the aftermath of the battle, the air still crackling with energy, his face grim. Inside his head, he silently apologizes to his master for dragging Ageha into this mess. Right at that moment, Izumi Hento walks up and asks what they should do with the defeated enemy, but Itsuki shuts it down with a hard stare, telling him it's better if he handles this himself. Hento just nods, agreeing to the call and asking for a debrief later on. Iberia watches this whole exchange, thinking to himself that Hento is way more of an enigma than he initially thought. The scene cuts to a hospital room where Itsuki is explaining the new plan. He tells Ageha he's jumping into the tournament with Iberia. From her hospital bed, Ageha insists that she's already all healed up. The artifact in Iberia's hand catches Hento's eye, who zeroes in on him, questioning if he is the offspring of the renowned artisan Aiden. The blonde is absolutely floored. How did this man not only recognize the artifact, but also know his father's name? Trying to play it cool, he flashes a thumbs up and bellows that he is Aiden's father. The entire area goes dead silent, and Hento calmly deadpans that he's got it all backward. Utterly humiliated, Iberia corrects himself, whispering that Aiden is his dad. Hento then expresses his gratitude for saving his daughter and promises to personally arrange a meeting with Aiden for them. He sends the two off to get ready for the tournament, letting them know he and Agaya will be watching from the stands. Fired up, Iberia vows to Hento that they will absolutely dominate the preliminaries. The moment they are alone, Agaya remarks that her father seems to have taken a shine to Tenma, just as he did with her and Kazunari. Hento explains that Itsuki harbors a deep self-destructive impulse, born from a childhood trauma, but that dangerous urge completely vanishes when he has people by his side to protect. This is when Hento drops a bombshell. He intentionally placed a Gaia near Itsuki, pleading with her to become his friend. The pieces click into place for her. She realizes she needs to become his weakness, the very person Itsuki will feel compelled to shield above all else. The conversation takes a dark turn as Hento reveals the assault on the school was a calculated attack. He stares out the window, grimly stating that the future of humanity is looking utterly bleak, but a flicker of hope remains in his eyes, a firm belief that Tenma is the one who will illuminate this shadowed path. And in doing so, the boy is destined to become the great beacon of hope for everyone. The camera then pans to the tournament arena, the stage for the chaotic preliminary rounds. Itsuki and Iberia step into a massive throng of contestants, a crowd that only swelled with the news of Hento's arrival. Elsewhere, a rival combatant grumbles that Izumi Hento showing up has introduced far too many unpredictable factors. Another crew of fighters clocks the signature red ribbons and begins speculating if Itsuki himself is in the house. Suddenly, the event's high-energy host materializes on stage, gearing up to lay down the rules of the game. The host explains the layout. The arena has an outer ring and an inner circle, with everyone starting at the edges. The objective is simple: be one of the first 300 to reach the center to qualify. Ryuto is stunned by the wristband's true purpose, and Saya finds the mass elimination style disgustingly cruel as the host gives the green light for artifact usage. Iberia suddenly grabs Itsuki's attention, pointing toward Raiji Kinoshita, who is seen barking orders at a team of mercenaries he has on his payroll. Iberia quickly suggests they blitz the inner area to set up an ambush for Kinoshita, but in the next instant the color drains from his face, replaced by a mask of pure despair. It's because Itsuki was already standing directly in front of the enemy squad, casually informing them he heard their entire plan. Ignoring the rising tension, the host's voice booms across the loudspeakers, announcing that the first stage has officially begun. From his high vantage point, he observes the swarm of competitors, thinking that quality is always better than quantity. Beside him, Hayton Akira remarks that in his day, there were plenty of participants who were above level 15. But a flashback shows us the reality. Back in his year, only he and the legendary Kazunari Tsutsumi possessed that kind of power. Akira cracks a smile, admitting it would be a boring world without rookies like Kazunari to shake things up. He then pivots to Izumi, asking if the rumor about a new, impossibly strong prodigy is for real. Seated like a king, Izumi Hento confirms that the story is 100% true. Akira presses him, asking if this individual is among the contestants, guessing they must possess some kind of god-tier talent. His curiosity sparked, the host begins, frantically scanning the participant data, trying to figure out who this mystery powerhouse could be. He first analyzes Riku but quickly dismisses him because of his low-grade gift. Next, he checks Saya, but also comes to the conclusion that it's probably not her. He then bets it must be the girl Hana, since her level is pretty high, but Izumi Hento corrects him, revealing it's none of them. Even though Hana is technically the strongest, Akira then poses a wild question: is there by any chance a level 0 participant in this tournament? Back down in the arena, Raiji's crew starts mocking Itsuki, asking if the little boy got lost on his way to daycare. Completely unfazed, Itsuki lets an ability flare to life in his hand, staring down the pack of hyenas. Raiji instantly recognizes the technique, shouting that it belongs to Charles and demanding to know who the hell Itsuki is. With an ice-cold glare, Itsuki asks if they weren't the ones looking for him. Raiji is absolutely furious, unable to believe that some low-level piece of trash took down his subordinate. He then orders his goons to annihilate the boy, and they all prepare to lunge forward. But a sinister energy erupts from the ground, as Itsuki warns that he has no time to waste on them. With all his enemies neutralized in an instant, the protagonist walks past their fallen bodies without a second glance. From a distance, Akira remarks that the outcome was obvious, and suggests they should have just begged for their lives. Iberia is freaking out, because even if he manages to take down one of them, Itsuki would still have to fight 4 guys. With his back against the wall, he decides he has no choice but to use that to help. A new enemy approaches, scoffing that the first opponent he runs into is a level 0 scrub. But Itsuki, without even looking up from the ground, simply tells him to get out of his way. The man is stunned for a second, not believing what he just heard, and then he erupts into laughter, finding the kid's sheer nerve hilarious. Watching from above, Akira says he likes the kid's style and will save him if he gets himself killed. The red-haired man lets out a vicious snarl to shatter the boy's skull, but Itsuki just scoffs. In the next instant, a brutal crack echoes as a fist slams into the man's jaw. A spray of blood erupts from the impact. As his enemy collapses, Itsuki coldly reiterates, "I told you to move." Akira is completely stunned, his mind reeling from how Itsuki just instantly deleted a guy who was way out of his league. The other goons are paralyzed with shock, but one of them shakes it off, yelling at the others not to freak out. He conjures a swirling fireball, screaming that he's going to incinerate the new guy. The explosion blindsides Akira. The blast was so immediate he didn't even have a split second to process it. The enemy crew sneers, commenting that if you're this weak, you're supposed to get wiped out in the preliminaries. But as the thick smoke starts to clear, One of them points his voice trembling with alarm, warning that something is dead wrong. A massive wall of jagged black ice has just erupted from nowhere, shielding them both. Iberia, now brandishing 2 daggers, is low-key impressed by the instant fortress, but Itsuki just shoots him an ice-cold glare, telling him to get back. Now, a system window flashes open, revealing the wall just massively buffed his defense stats. With his defense jacked up, he figures it's the perfect time to test this skill's passive effect one more time. The attacker is completely stunned, trying to process how this guy just used an ice ability, without even being a water element user. Itsuki just points a finger at him, goading him to try again. This time, he says, "I won't even block." The guy absolutely loses it, screaming if he's being played, and Itsuki confirms it with a deadpan stare, furious. The enemy unleashes his trump card, a superheated high-pressure flamethrower. The inferno roars to life, surging forward. But Itsuki just notes that even though it's packing more heat, it's still just a B-rank skill. The torrent of fire barrels ahead with unstoppable force, completely engulfing the arena in its destructive power. The enemy starts bragging, boasting that the sheer force of this attack is easily on par with a level 89 player. He feels his mana tank hit empty, thinking what a waste it was on a level 0 scrub. But in the next second, the man's eyes dart to the side, his face twisting into a mask of pure terror, unable to comprehend what he's seeing. Itsuki then confirms it out loud: the ice's passive effect doesn't proc twice on the same target. With the experiment concluded, he turns his gaze on the remaining goons and warns them that playtime is over. The brute is in shock, but his partner claims he's already figured out the kid's weakness. With that, the big guy charges up his skill, a devastating fire blast. He unleashes a volley of fireballs, but Itsuki just throws up another ice wall to shield himself. The attacks detonate one after another, creating a blinding curtain of fire and smoke right in front of him. The attacker smirks his plan to just drain the kid's mana, but as he powers up, his hands are suddenly seized with unbelievable strength. The big guy is frozen in shock, breaking out into a cold sweat as he stares at the figure that just appeared before him. It's Itsuki, now encased in a full suit of ice armor, having closed the distance between them in the blink of an eye. The brute tries to flex his muscles, screaming that if the kid's game is speed, then theirs is pure power. From inside the armor, Itsuki's voice drips with disdain. "Is that really all you've got?" Seeing the brute's pathetic struggle, he announces he'll go easy on him and just slams him into the ground. A system window then pops up analyzing the clash, displaying the insane calculation of the defense increase. The last 2 enemies try to make a run for it, but Itsuki pegs them as lightning users, and a new plan clicks into place. He shoots them a lethal glare, asking if they seriously believe they can escape him. In a desperate last stand, the 2 unleash their electric abilities, trying to take the protagonist down with them. But the system window reveals he just absorbed their attacks, supercharging his agility stat. Akira, who's been watching this whole time, is completely floored by how easily he's tearing through opponents who should be way stronger. Crackling with a vibrant electric aura, Itsuki stands among his defeated foes. He now understands the absorption effect, just like the ice barrier is a one-and-done deal per target. Iberia strolls up to the bodies, hands on his hips, confirming that everyone is just knocked unconscious. With a wide grin, he says he thought this was going to be a real fight, but he never expected Itsuki to be this much of a monster. The masked goon on the ground yells out, demanding to know who he is because there's no way he's a level 0. Iberia then casually steps up beside him, and Itsuki questions why he said "we," with a ridiculously smug smile. Iberia announces that they are Double I, the most powerful duo in existence. Itsuki completely ignores this cringe-worthy idea, already dragging Iberia away, so they can hunt down Kinoshita immediately. Sprawled on the ground, the defeated enemy just thinks to himself that their duo name is absolutely lame. Far off in the distance, Raiji Kinoshita senses the chaotic energy, assuming that the level 0 kid is getting pummeled right about now. But he spots Charles's signature weapon, making a mental note to look into it later. Suddenly, a screaming competitor, literally engulfed in flames, zips past him at blinding speed. Elsewhere, another participant is celebrating his own success, bragging about being a speed specialist. But out of nowhere, a bolt of violent purple lightning crashes down, striking the speedster, who lets out a piercing scream. He collapses to the ground, completely bewildered as to who could have tagged him while he was moving at top speed. Then, a foot wreathed in crackling purple energy slams down hard onto the man's back. It was Raiji who warns him that this is the price for running ahead of him. He barks at his crew, telling them not to waste their energy on this kind of trash. From the private viewing boxes, a woman remarks to Hento about the sheer arrogance of the administrator's son. Even though it isn't technically against the rules, Raiji is basically farming other players to replenish his stamina. With his strategy paying off, he's totally confident he'll breeze through the second phase. At last, he arrives at the entrance to the inner zone, thinking that was almost too easy. Just then, a voice echoes across the entire arena, calling out for Kinoshita. Surrounded by crackling lightning, Raiji whips around, a look of pure shock on his face as he tries to pinpoint who called his name. His cronies immediately jump into a defensive stance, and one of them points a trembling finger warning that it's that level 0 rookie. Through the pouring rain, the silhouettes of Itsuki and Iberia slowly advance, putting the entire group on maximum alert. As the thugs close in, they finally realize who they're looking at. It's the same kid. Raiji can't wrap his head around it. There's no way this nobody demolished his entire crew. A bitter smirk twists his face as he trash talks the rookie, calling him a pest he can't shake. But Itsuki fires back, making it clear he's not moving an inch until they finish this. Raiji scoffs that he's got better things to do, but he's already lined up some new playmates for them. With a look of pure rage, he orders his new muscle to handle the kid. The mob swarms the duo, clowning a level 0 for having so much nerve. Iberia starts to freak out, counting over 100 enemies and asking what the hell they're gonna do. Itsuki just places a calm hand on his head, telling the kid to brace himself. In that instant, crackling blue lightning erupts from the ground, engulfing all the goons at the front. Raiji spins around, sensing the massive energy from the attack that just went off. In a flash, Itsuki vanishes and reappears, throwing up a lightning barrier that traps Raiji inside. The boss has no clue what just hit him, while Iberia just stares his face, a mask of pure shock. Then Itsuki speaks up. He says maybe he wasn't clear the first time and decides to spell it out. With stone-cold eyes, he declares that nobody is going anywhere until this is settled. Elsewhere, Harino remarks that they would have been toast if they hadn't stuck together. Even then, he figured they were some of the fastest players around. Nearby, a woman asks Akira if he's hungry already. Their eyes drift to the #1 player on the board, Kana, who's already hit level 16. Harino suddenly points to the sky, shouting that something is flying straight at them. The girl looks up, tracking the figure hurtling toward them. Out of nowhere, Iberia slams into the ground right in front of them with a sickening thud. Battered and bruised, he looks back, screaming Itsuki's name in pure desperation. Harino is stunned, asking his partner if he just heard what he thought he heard. She confirms it, saying she definitely heard the kid yell for Itsuki. The scene cuts to a memory of Itsuki, his back to the camera, standing in a downpour. He turns to face someone, vowing he won't let them walk away until they've settled the score. Back in the present, Fujiwara is trying to figure out Itsuki's intense fixation on Reiji. Next to him, a woman in glasses watches the whole scene unfold with a worried expression. Fujiwara then tells Akira Hayton to jump in if the kid gets in over his head. Akira Hayton is lost in thought, marveling at Itsuki's insane speed and wondering if he could ever match it. The flashback continues. Reiji faces his challenger and tells him to get ready. This, he sneers, is going to be way more than a simple fight. The man roars that he's about to witness his own complete and utter humiliation. He clarifies what's about to happen. In his words, a one-sided beatdown. Cutting back to the present, Itsuki declares that his only goal right now is getting revenge for H.Ha. Reiji points a trembling finger and screams for everyone to kill him on the spot. The entire mob surges forward, stampeding toward Itsuki. One goon lunges, yelling he'll take his head with one punch, but Itsuki casually blocks the blow with a single hand. In the next move, he seizes the guy's arm and twists it with bone-snapping force. Itsuki slams the man face first into the dirt instantly, knocking him out cold. The other thugs recoil in shock, one of them sputtering that there's no way they can lose. Itsuki just smirks as a system notification pops up. He announces that he's ending this joke now and unleashes his skill. The boy winds up his arm, releasing an overwhelming torrent of energy. He triggers a massive explosion that blasts all of his opponents off their feet. Harino is completely floored, asking if that was seriously Itsuki's power. Akira can't believe what he just saw, but the girl beside him just calls it an appetizer. Even the top-ranked player, Kana, turns to see what all the commotion is about. Fujiwara is speechless, questioning how he just used a skill that's totally outside his class. The woman admits she had no idea Itsuki even had an area of effect attack. Itsuki remarks that 30% power should be enough since he doesn't actually want to murder them. Raiji scans the battlefield, his jaw on the floor as he sees all his men down for the count. Itsuki's gaze locks onto him, warning that now he's all that's left. Raiji screams, demanding to know why he's so obsessed with him. Itsuki promises to return every ounce of pain his friend suffered, because of him. This sets Raiji off, who boasts that he can reach power levels others can only dream of. He screams that they're built different and swears he's going to end Itsuki right here. Raiji unleashes a colossal attack, and Itsuki's system instantly begins to analyze the incoming blast. At the very last millisecond, Itsuki sidesteps, completely avoiding the strike. Raiji collapses to the ground, muttering that it's impossible to beat someone with that kind of speed. He completely loses it and starts screaming for someone named 40. A bald-headed man rockets forward at blinding speed, making it clear he's about to break the rules. A grin spreads across Raiji's face as he warns that 40 is level 35, telling Itsuki his doom has arrived. Miles away, Kira issues a command to his subordinate, who simply acknowledges the order. Back on the field, Itsuki senses the new presence approaching. Even with anti-magic blazing and moving at insane speeds, the system was still crunching the numbers on Raiji's abilities. Just then, 40 lunges in for the kill, but bam, a wall of solid rock slams up, blocking his path. This massive stone barrier erupts from the earth, completely shutting down the attack. Itsuki glances over, trying to see who just crashed their party. And who is it? None other than Akira Heiten, physically restraining 40. He just looks at Itsuki and says, "Don't mind us. Finish your business." Itsuki turns his ice-cold gaze back to Raiji. "Looks like your backup isn't coming." Raiji starts panicking, pleading with him to stop and trying to flex his family's high-status connections. The shot pans out to show Raiji utterly broken on the floor, with Itsuki towering over him. Itsuki mutters under his breath. Finally, "Agaha, this is for you." From a safe distance, the woman in glasses is analyzing the whole scene. Fujiwara just smirks. Well, he won. So why's he staring over here? His system flashes analysis 99% complete. He freezes it. Suddenly a voice cuts through the silence and he whips his head around to see who it is. He knows that voice. A wave of shock hits him as he turns back. It's the girl with pink hair, and he breathes her name, Saya. She rushes over, urging him, "Come on, let's get you under some cover now." She's worried he'll catch a cold out in the open. He just replies, "Yeah, it's been a minute." Just then, his system dings with a notification, new rank achieved. Iberia and Harino come sprinting in for a group hug, totally relieved he's okay. But then Harino glares at Iberia and snaps, "Dude, who gave you the right to be crying all over Itsuki?" The blonde kid just claps back, introducing himself as Itsuki, Tenma's official partner. Harino immediately calls him a traitor, and all the while Saya's just watching this whole mess unfold with a smirk. Itsuki asks what their team name is. Iberia scoffs, saying they aren't children. But Harino's like, yeah, we do have a name. And he pressures Iberia to spill the beans. So Iberia, with all the pride in the world, declares their team name is Double E. Harino absolutely loses it and starts cracking up, calling the name totally lame, which just sets Iberia off. The scene cuts away as Fujiwara steps up to make an announcement. Phase 2 is about to kick off. He lays out the rules. Every single one of them will face a beast solo for an entire hour. Iberia's jaw hits the floor, but Itsuki just calmly acknowledges that the next stage is finally here. Cut to another scene where Akira Heiten is saying, "I've been waiting for this." We get a montage of all the top dogs, each one looking fired up and ready to show the world what they've got. The camera pans across the inside of the arena, packed with all the fighters who made it through the qualifiers. One of them speaks up, "So is this where the second part of the tournament is going down?" Ryuto rolls up on Itsuki, asking, "For real, is your level still stuck at 0? He's dying to know how Itsuki's getting so OP without leveling up, but our boy just says it's classified. That's when Saya steps in and tells him he doesn't owe anyone an explanation for his power. High above, the announcers are looking down on the crowd, and the MC grabs the mic. "All right, is everybody ready?" All of a sudden, Iberia's face goes pale with panic as he stares upwards, completely stunned. The crowd starts buzzing as they recognize the absolute legends looking down on them. We're talking Fujiwara, Akira, and even the one and only Izumi Hento. The host then steps into the spotlight and raises his voice. "Allow me to explain the rules for Stage 2. He details how beasts will spawn in, and your score is based on whatever difficulty you pick. And get this, after every win, you only get a 60-second breather before the next round starts." Some dude named Gaku starts flexing, boasting that he's jumping straight into nightmare level. Right in the middle of the speech, Itsuki's hand shoots up. I have a question." A few of the other contestants start clowning on him, assuming he's shook about a 1v1. But Fujiwara shuts them down and gives him the floor. "Go ahead, ask whatever you need to." So Itsuki turns to face everyone and asks, "Is Nightmare Mode actually the hardest difficulty there is?" You can see Akira crack a smile, while the host looks totally floored by the audacity. The rest of the fighters erupt in laughter, dissing him and saying a level 0 has no shot. But Fujiwara cuts in explaining that, in theory, there's no actual cap on the beast difficulty level. Ryuto is stunned, saying it's completely insane to even think about that, because you'd be lucky to survive hard mode. Then the host drops a bombshell. All the points you rack up here, they carry over to the main tournament. This new info sends a shockwave through the crowd. Iberia realizes he's going to have to pull out his secret weapon. A memory of Kazunari's record flashes through Itsuki's mind. This is it. This is his chance to finally blow past him. With the rules now clear, Fujiwara commands everyone to enter the testing arena. Stage 2 kicks off, and as Itsuki steps inside, he notices that the area looks pretty standard. Until the darkness is pierced by dozens of glowing red eyes blinking open all around him. A whole pack of calamity hounds materializes from the shadows, and for the first time, a genuine smile creeps across his face. He's actually hyped to fight these things. He instantly throws up an ice wall, knowing he's got to wipe them out and fast. Back in the control room, Akira nudges Fujiwara. "You're watching that kid again, aren't you?" A devious grin spreads across Akira's face. "Can you blame me? This one's way more entertaining than the rest." Akira suddenly shouts, "Whoa, the beasts are here," but Fujiwara has no clue why he's so shocked, because down in the arena, Itsuki obliterates the entire pack in less than a second, racking up 100 points just like that. Fujiwara can't believe the time on the clock, and Akira gets all smug like, "See, I told you this kid was something else." He figures it's doable since they were just level 1 scrubs, but the next challenger is a solid level 8. A massive level 8 fire salamander erupts into the arena, facing our hero. Akira mutters that this is where he hits a wall, but Itsuki just scoffs, saying this lizard is zero threat. He casually asks how the other contestants are doing, and Ageha instantly realizes her dad is trying to shift everyone's attention away from Itsuki's insane performance. Fujiwara glances at his tablet, noting that almost everyone is still struggling in the tutorial zone. The feed cuts to Saya, blasting one of the arena beasts with her water powers. In another section, a different competitor just obliterates his foe with a colossal sledgehammer, and the screen highlights that Kana Hanyu is the only person even close to matching Itsuki's blistering pace. Back in the VIP box, the woman with glasses starts to panic, saying this is a total disaster for Itsuki. Down below, he's been completely swallowed by the salamander's inferno, vanishing inside the sea of fire. Fujiwara scrambles to call the medics, but Akira throws out a hand telling him to just chill and watch. Then from the heart of the blaze, Itsuki strolls out without a single scratch, his badass black ice armor materializing to shield him. He rockets forward and slices the salamander with one clean strike. The hit is so devastating, it splits the fiery beast clean in two. He stands over the evaporating corpse, the entire battle lasting a mere 5 seconds. Fujiwara is floored by the armor's appearance, and Akira is baffled why he'd just take a direct hit. But we see it was all part of the plan, to use the heat to supercharge his defenses. With that single move, his defense stats skyrockets to an insane 434. He then completely skips the rest period, hungry to test out his new tank build on the next monster. Back in the control room, they're remarking how this trial is designed to push both agility and raw power. The next opponent materializes a level 10 lightning rhinoceros, an extremely lethal adversary. Fujiwara lays it out, its horn will skewer anyone without god-tier defense. And if you don't have lightning resistance, you get zapped, paralyzed, and become a sitting duck. He says the only strategy is to dodge until the beast tires itself out. But then his jaw hits the floor, absolutely refusing to process what the kid is about to do. Itsuki just casually strolls up to the rhino and taps its crackling horn. He looks the beast dead in the eye and says, "Your horn looks perfect for a little defense test." The rhino goes ballistic at the disrespect, snorting as its body erupts with electricity, and then it charges full throttle, slamming its horn right into our boy's chest. Itsuki is launched skyward, by the sheer force of the collision, completely wrapped in a storm of lightning. From the booth, the woman with glasses shrieks his name, absolutely horrified by what she's seeing. But Akira just smirks, thinking that no matter how wild this kid is, he always pulls off something epic. Suddenly, a massive explosion of ice and raw blue energy detonates mid-arena. Itsuki lands perfectly on his feet, realizing that a level 10 monster can't even touch him anymore. With his eyes blazing a menacing red, he declares, "It's time to end this." He pops his Thunder Wave skill, jacking his agility up by 50%. The rhino just stands there, stunned, its horn shattered and smoking from the impact. The beast starts to turn, only to be swarmed by a tornado of razor-sharp blue energy. And, in less than a heartbeat, Itsuki is just chilling on the back of the defeated rhinoceros. Up in the booth, Akira points out he just took down 2 high-level beasts in under 15 seconds. Fujiwara's expression turns serious, because he knows the next creature is on a completely different level. He begins describing the next monster, one with claws that can shred reality itself. Fujiwara paints a grim picture of a gaping maw that spits chains to devour its victims, all attached to a massive body, encased in a nightmarish exoskeleton-like armor. He reveals that this is the final boss of the prelims, the ultimate objective. And then it appears the level 15 Purgatory Giant, the final boss of Nightmare Mode. But without a second of hesitation, Itsuki activates his piercing sphere and unleashes a beam of pure purple energy. The attack blasts straight through the monster's chest, and the system dings, announcing a massive increase in projectile speed. In the control room, every single person is shell-shocked, their minds struggling to comprehend what they just witnessed. The monitor flashes the results, a 9 to 100% buff, cranking its power level to something absolutely ridiculous. One of the arena's security drones zooms in on the battle, capturing every insane detail. Itsuki braces for the next round, and the system clock reveals that entire fight took only 3 seconds. Elsewhere in the arena, another beast fires off a massive energy blast from its jaws. The camera cuts back to Saya, who's firing off her water bullet, her mind set on her upcoming class promotion. Gaku is also going all out, skipping his rest period, to be the first one to clear the normal difficulty. Kanahanyu, however, is playing it smart, taking a moment to recharge her mana before diving back into the fray. Suddenly, a blaring alarm echoes through the entire facility, announcing that someone has just cleared nightmare mode. 21 seconds. Saya's jaw drops to the floor, knowing in an instant that no one but Itsuki could have pulled that off. Gaku is absolutely livid, his mind racing, wondering if Han Yu somehow beat him to the punch. Kana, meanwhile, just watches the chaos unfold, her expression unreadable. Back in the arena, Itsuki just points and asks if they're ready to bring on the next challenger. In the control room, the operators are completely stunned. He just one-shotted a level 15 giant. A ghost of a smile plays on Akira's lips as he orders them to crank up the difficulty. He wants to see just how far this kid can really go. But down on the arena floor, Itsuki is let down when he sees they just added more bodies. The two purgatory giants brace themselves, ready to unleash absolute hell on our hero. But Itsuki decides to handle one of them before the other even finishes its wind-up. And just like that, he ignites his spear and completely obliterates one of the giants, scoring another skill upgrade. Fujiwara is bug-eyed, unable to process how he's able to spam the sphere without any cooldown. That's when Akira reveals that for all its insane power, the ability has one fatal weakness. Down below the second giant charges Itsuki, a blur of motion ready to strike with everything it has. Itsuki immediately clocks it. This thing's speed is on a whole other level. From the VIP box, Hento remarks that people always get fooled by the giant's massive size. Back in the fight, Itsuki summons his sphere of dark energy. He launches the projectile, and it screams toward the creature, but Hento explains that these giants are actually speed demons, not powerhouses. The analysis screen confirms its zero magic ability, but its other stats are through the roof. And to Itsuki's utter shock, the giant sidesteps the blast at the very last possible second. Hento then points out that the kid's first win was purely a sneak attack. Akira chimes in. If he can't increase that sphere's velocity, he's not making it through this. Right then, the giant lunges forward and strikes, slamming down with enough force to leave a crater in the arena floor. The impact sends a shockwave that tears apart the stadium. Itsuki barely dodges the hit, but he now knows the monster can evade from long range. Akira figures he must be holding another ace up his sleeve, to be so confident in that same attack. A smirk plays on Itsuki's lips as he acknowledges the creature's insane speed, and decides to close the gap himself. He unleashes his thunder wave, rocketing across the arena at a ridiculous velocity. Our hero then vaults clear over the giant, aiming for a strike from behind, but the beast unleashes a savage counter, catching him clean in midair. The brutal impact sends Itsuki flying, slamming him hard against the arena wall. In the VIP box, the woman in glasses gasps, her hand flying to her mouth. Fujiwara scrambles for his phone, screaming at security to get the rescue team in there as soon as possible. But Hento stops him cold, telling him to just wait and watch. Akira notes that the blow had incredible power, but it's worthless if you can't land the hit. The dust begins to settle, revealing the giant's fist embedded in the wall, dripping with a weird fluid. When it turns, it sees Itsuki across the arena, calling out to it. The beast looks back at the wall and finally gets it. What it just pulverized wasn't the boy. It's completely bewildered, having no clue how it got played so badly. But from a distance, Itsuki seizes the moment of confusion and launches his spear directly at the nape of the monster's neck. Crackling with energy, Itsuki prepares to end this, his eyes burning with resolve. The projectile tears straight through the giant, pinning the beast to the arena floor for good. Looming over the fallen monster, he sees his sphere has gained even more speed from the victory. With that, he wraps up the fight in just 12 seconds, bagging another 10,000 points total. From the VIP section, Agatha's friend teases that it's rare to see her this fired up, but Agatha tries to play it off. I was just praying for everyone's safety, she stammers, totally flustered. It's not like I thought Tenma was cool or anything. Her father just smirks, remarking that she's gotten way chattier since the last time they met. Fujiwara then turns to Akira, asking how he knew Itsuki was going to dodge. Akira explains that his base speed is pretty much on par with the giants, but the second that electricity surges through his veins, his speed skyrockets. With that kind of power, there was zero chance the giant's attack would ever connect. Fujiwara then points out that with his current score, first place is basically a lock, but for Itsuki to even touch Kazunari, the absolute strongest, he can't stop now. A violent purple aura erupts around him, as he roars that he can't rest, not for a single second. The system then announces Phase 3, and 3 more giants materialize before him. With a wild grin, Itsuki fires his purple sphere, ready to wipe the first one off the map. Akira comments that he's pushing forward just as he expected from the man he chose. But Fujiwara points out a chilling fact. Akira himself never jumped straight to Phase 4, like this kid just did. He says that not even Akira could handle that kind of pressure, and wonders what on earth is going to happen to Tenma down there. The second behemoth thunders forward, swinging a fist meant to obliterate him, but Itsuki sidesteps the blow like it's in slow motion. He zips around the beast, a blur of motion trailing crackling energy from his thunder wave, completely disorienting it as he gets into position at its back. He unleashes his spear, a flash of deadly light that skewers the giant, ending it instantly as another surge of power courses through him. Itsuki collapses to one knee, breathing hard, thinking there's only one left, but his body is screaming in protest. Before he can recover, the final giant lunges. Its massive jaws clamp down on Itsuki, ready to swallow him whole, but then the beast hesitates, sensing something is deeply wrong. It's as if the boy's very presence is off. Suddenly, a dangerous light starts to emanate from deep inside the giant creature's throat. Inside the cavern of its mouth, Itsuki's eyes flare with raw power, activating his lotus explosion, ready to unleash hell from the inside out. A geyser of orange light erupts from the monster's core, lighting up the entire arena with its sheer force and completely vaporizing the giant. A system notification pops up, announcing his skill range has increased as the boy stumbles out from the roaring inferno. That move just netted him another 15,000 points. Up in the stands, Fujiwara's jaw is on the floor, his mind utterly blown by what he just witnessed. It happened right in front of him. Then it clicks. That's the same insane move that wiped out a ton of guys back in Phase 1. Itsuki forces himself to his feet, his mana gauge sitting at a big fat 0, but he knows that as long as more beasts spawn, his mana will keep on refilling. And right on cue, Phase 4 kicks off, and the arrival of 4 new enemies instantly recharges his magic. From the viewing box, Akira murmurs that only Kazunari has ever cleared Phase 4. Down below, Itsuki steels himself for the next wave. He knows the secret to his power. Every single hit cranks up his sphere's velocity, and with more speed comes a much higher chance to land a critical strike. He figures if he can just keep this momentum, he can snipe them from a distance, but he knows his mana is finite. He can't afford a single wasted attack. Just then, one of the giants unleashes a barrage of chains roaring as it charges straight for him. Itsuki dives out of the way, narrowly avoiding the attack, and immediately preps a counterstrike. But then, he sees the giant's true plan. The monster yanks on the chains, using them to slingshot its massive body backward, dodging the projectile which just grazes its head. The giant uses the opening to land a devastating blow, slamming our protagonist into the arena floor like a meteor. The impact is colossal. Itsuki's world goes dark for a second. He's pretty sure he's toast. Pinned under the giant's massive claws, he's completely immobilized. The creature applies pressure, a sickening crunch echoing as it prepares to squash him flat. This attack looks absolutely fatal. A horrifying image flashes a bloody skeleton. The giant then contemptuously flings his broken body aside, carving a fresh crater in the arena. With the sheer force of the toss, Itsuki lies in a heap, a mangled, bloody mess, totally motionless. Up in the viewing box, Fujiwara is absolutely losing it, screaming at Akira to go save him immediately. But Akira is just frozen solid. He's wondering if this is really how the kid's journey ends. He's having flashbacks to his own crushing defeat, watching the same nightmare play out again. Snapping out of it, he spins around, declaring he's going in to save him, but a hand on his shoulder stops him. It's Hento. He looks at Akira and calmly states that Tenma hasn't given up the fight yet. Everyone else is panicking, but Akira tries to explain. He insists the situation is completely hopeless. But Hento just says he can tell that Itsuki still has an ace up his sleeve. Fujiwara asks how he could possibly know that, and Hento replies that the answer is in his eyes. His eyes are not the eyes of someone who has accepted their end, but of someone who is about to fight back. Down on the field, a memory sparks in Itsuki's mind. He recalls pushing himself to the absolute brink, activating his over-mimesis ability during the slugfest with Kinoshita. He had started analyzing one of his own abilities, but then deliberately canceled the process at the very last second, right when the analysis hit 99%. He saved that final 1%, that complete analysis, for a do-or-die situation just like this one. Back in the box, one of the women gasps, pointing excitedly at a single blue lotus flower that has just bloomed from the arena floor. Akira is baffled by her excitement. He wonders if she knows something he doesn't. Just then, a system window materializes. It explains his skill has evolved. It can now absorb lightning attacks to become even stronger. Itsuki's hand, which was just a mangled mess, begins knitting itself back together in a flash of light. He clenches his fist as a surge of brilliant blue energy envelops his entire body. With this evolved skill, he gets a whopping 20 points in all stats and a full heal on all his wounds. He rises to his feet and announces that the warm-up is officially over, and now he's about to fight for real. His stats immediately skyrocket. Every single one of his attributes is boosted by 20 points. Fujiwara is in absolute disbelief. The kid just healed faster than a professional healer. Itsuki unleashes his spheres, taking out all the remaining giants in a single fluid motion. With Phase 4 complete, he roars that he is not going to lose. He doesn't care how many more enemies appear. He keeps launching his spears, which are now moving at a completely absurd speed. A projectile blasts through a monster's chest before it can even twitch. The sphere then ricochets, slamming into the back of another giant. The final monster takes a direct hit to the face, exploding on impact, And just like that, Itsuki clears another phase. Up in the viewing box, everyone is speechless. With jaws scraping the floor after witnessing the massacre in the arena, Itsuki sits perched on a pile of bodies, a chilling thought echoing in his mind. Who's the real monster here? Utterly drained, he calls for the next wave only to realize no more giants are spawning. That's when Fujiwara snatches the microphone, stammering that he can't process what he's just seen. His hand slams down on a massive red button, prepping for a bombshell announcement. With a voice trembling with disbelief, he informs Tenma that his test is officially over. It turns out the kid just single-handedly annihilated every single giant they had prepped for the entire challenge. The host's voice booms across the stadium, confirming that he has wiped out all prepared giants. Itsuki is just standing there baffled. He thought the trial was supposed to be an endless gauntlet. He's left wondering what his final score is now that he's maxed out the challenge and closed the gap with Kazunari. On top of that, a system alert flashes, notifying him he's achieved his goal of boosting his sphere's velocity. His ability is now so insanely fast that a display compares its speed to a high-performance race car. A brilliant blue aura explodes around his body as he feels a strange new power surging within him, but his expression shifts to a weary glance, as if a troubling memory just surfaced. He lets out a heavy sigh, realizing he completely spaced on one tiny crucial detail. Because he's incapable of leveling up, all the experience points from the arena have solidified into a massive karma stone. From the VIP box, Hento explains that since Itsuki doesn't absorb XP, it physically materializes instead. Akira's eyes light up, realizing that if he parties up with him, his partner could soak up all that insane experience. Itsuki casually scoops up the stone, and Fujiwara mutters that he's lucky to be human. With the trial concluded, he declares they've accomplished their mission, and it's time to dip. He strides toward the arena's exit, and the colossal doors begin to grind open. Watching him leave the proving grounds, Fujiwara breathes to the others. He actually did it. The system then flashes the final results, with Itsuki dominating first place with a staggering score. Fujiwara rushes over, gushing about his incredible potential and offering to find him a new mentor, but Itsuki flatly refuses, stating he already has a teacher. This blatant rejection clearly irritates the host. That's when Akira steps in, a dangerous glint in his eye. Keep pushing, and this is going to end real bad for you. He casually adds that he already handled Kinoshida's goons, calling them nothing more than a bunch of thugs, and with a sly grin. He drops the bomb. The kid is the legendary Izumi's student. Fujiwara is completely thunderstruck by this revelation, while Itsuki just gives a simple thanks for the backup. Akira confirms the intel, making it crystal clear that he's a disciple of the great Hento. As if on cue, Hento himself approaches, and Itsuki greets him as his teacher. The woman with the glasses then congratulates the boy, mentioning she witnessed his entire jaw-dropping performance. Itsuki says he's alright, just a bit wiped out, but it's nothing a good rest can't fix. Fujiwara and Akira exchange a look, commenting that it all makes sense now. Of course, he's this overpowered if he's an Izumi student. The host explains that the test now extends to Phase 6, entirely because of Kazunari's previous record. Akira then tells him to chill, since the second stage has barely kicked off for everyone else. We cut to Ryuto, barely able to lift his arms, as he finally clears the challenge on hard mode. Then we see Saya desperately trying to suffocate a beast inside a gigantic bubble of water. With that final push, she also completes her run, but it took her a grueling 19 minutes. Itsuki observes that they both tapped out after hard mode, and Fujiwara clarifies that they're actually quite skilled. The host adds that competitors can only be pulled from the arena if they are severely wounded. All of a sudden, Akira shouts that another challenger has just reached nightmare mode. The screen focuses on Gaku Oe, who looks like she could actually take down at least one giant, and as a Shinigami user, she's got some serious grit to have clawed her way this far. She lets out a ferocious roar, and her creature morphs into its true beast, form a colossal werewolf. The Shinigami lunges at the enemy, with absolutely everything it has. The giant tries to retaliate, but the creature effortlessly smacks its attack aside. Hento explains that Shinigami are shapeshifters, and that you have to be extremely cautious when dealing with them. This gets Itsuki thinking about the dog he received from Charles, deciding he's definitely going to level it up. He turns to leave, figuring that since his friends have already quit, there's no reason for him to stick around. But he freezes mid-step, his eyes widening in pure shock at the sight before him. It was Iberia, encased in some kind of otherworldly armor, no doubt a little present from his father. Iberia starts flexing, boasting that it's the most powerful epic-grade armor his dad has ever forged. A stat screen then pops up, revealing it grants an extra 100 points to attack and agility. He explains that the armor possesses its own will, and it was a total nightmare to tame, but he has to secure a victory within 15 minutes, or he'll suffer some nasty penalties. With the armor equipped, his attack and agility stats explode by 120. He blasts forward, screaming that he needs to push his limits, so he doesn't drag his partner down. He then smashes into the giant, roaring that they are the double-eye duo after all. Itsuki watches from the corner, realizing his friend has gone into a full-blown berserker rage. Abruptly, a piercing siren blares, signaling that the second phase of the tournament has finally come to a close. Fujiwara announces that only the top 10 will advance to the main event, with some sick prizes for the top 2. Lying on the ground completely, spent Gaku Oe brags that the special reward is as good as hers. The host composes himself, building the suspense as he says he will now reveal the top 10 ranked participants. The screen flashes to life, displaying the final results, with Itsuki sitting at the number 1 spot, with over 100,000 points. The entire arena is in stunned silence, the previous record of 60,000, utterly shattered. Gaku shoots to his feet, his face a mask of fury over placing third, demanding to know who Itsuki Tenma is. Kanahanyu, however, looks thrilled, confessing she dreams of the day she can cross swords with him. Saya, on the other hand, just looks crushed by the colossal gap in their power. Up in the private suite, Ageha erupts in cheers, screaming that the results are posted and Itsuki is number 1. She can feel her father's immense pride, knowing that humanity's new sun is blazing. Sprawled on the ground, a battered Iberia just smiles, murmuring that he never doubted Itsuki would claim first place. He pushes himself up, proud to have put on a show worthy of their partnership. Itsuki rushes over, praising his friend, telling him he was nothing short of spectacular, and left him completely floored. Iberia gets all blushy and goofy from the compliment, making the face of a total blissed-out dork. And with that, the preliminaries of the 21st National Tournament are officially over. Itsuki winds up carrying Iberia on his back, the guy having burned every ounce of energy he had. The scene then cuts far away to the southern continent, where an old man with a flowing white beard sits in deep meditation. One of the nearby guards starts grumbling, but another quickly silences him, explaining that the old man is the Supreme Commander himself. His name is Balgar, a legendary prophet with the power to see the future. The skeptical guard questions this, asking why the defensive barriers always activate before any official warning. But his partner explains that even a small glimpse of the future makes him insanely powerful. Suddenly, Balgar's eyes fly open, filled with pure horror, from the vision that just assaulted him. He scrambles to his feet, roaring that his predictions are always 100% on the money. He almost collapses from the shock, but forces out a dire warning. The northern continent is in catastrophic danger. A massive horde of beasts is coming, and it includes monsters that are above level 100. Back at the tranquility of Hento's house, a soft breeze rustles the garden leaves. Itsuki is glued to his status screen, a satisfied look on his face as he sees he's finally blasted past 1,500 points. His agility and defense stats have exploded thanks to his passive skills. The screen shows us that for every level up, an awakened gets 50 status points to allocate. He does the mental math, and realizes his total points are already equivalent to a level 30 awakened. His passive skills can boost his agility and defense to infinity, which is epic, but he's low-key stressing about his attack power since he has no skills to pump that stat. A sudden shout rings out, announcing that the food is finally on the table. It's an ecstatic Ryuto, who proudly declares he made all of Itsuki's favorite dishes. As Itsuki walks toward the smell of delicious food, he can't help but wonder if Nemesis might hook him up with an attack skill soon. The scene shifts to the dining table, where a massive feast prepared by Ryuto awaits. Itsuki then asks where Iberia is, noticing his friend hasn't joined them yet. Ageha explains that she healed his wounds, but the guy is completely passed out from sheer exhaustion. Ryuto is still geeking out over a level 7, managing to clear nightmare mode, but his words are cut short when Saya suddenly chokes, pointing behind him with a look of pure, unadulterated terror. Ryuto is totally confused, as a dark, ominous shadow looms over him from behind. The shadowy figure then rasps out that it needs food, looking like a starved ghoul straight out of a horror movie. Turns out it's just Iberia who shoves Ryuto from his chair and launches himself at the table. The chef scolds him for the jump scare, while the blonde beast absolutely demolishes everything in sight. With his head bowed low, Iberia presents his empty bowl, begging for even more. Ryuto gets all flustered, asking why his friend is acting so hostile towards him, of all people. But Iberia just lifts his face, a massive grin spreading from ear to ear, and declares the food is beyond delicious. Ryuto immediately starts bragging, claiming his master-level cooking clearly brought his friend back to the land of the living. Iberia retorts that he has more talent as a chef, and Ryuto can't quite tell if that's supposed to be a compliment. Hento then cuts through the chaotic scene, saying he has an important question. He looks at each of them around the table, wanting to know what is the single most terrifying thing to them. Ryuto thinks for a beat, and shares that his life's dream is to travel the world and eat amazing food. So his absolute greatest fear is growing old, and no longer being able to properly enjoy life's pleasures. He shivers, saying the very idea gives him goosebumps. Hento then turns his gaze to Saya, who starts to share that she was born into a family of doctors. With tears brimming in his eyes, Itsuki remembers the unexpected warmth he had discovered within that bleak, negative world. After that, he met his master Ajha, and even the hopelessly clumsy Iberia. It felt like he had discovered a new crew, as if his family had suddenly gotten bigger. A small smile touches his lips, realizing it's been a long, long time since he's felt this secure, and he desperately wants this feeling to last. Speaking aloud, he answers that more than anything else. He was terrified of living a life of solitude. Ajha senses a change in his aura. It's serene and peaceful, a complete 180 from before. But Iberia immediately tackles him in a hug, yelling that he'll never ever abandon him, which makes Itsuki turn beet red. Hento then reveals why he asked regret is a poison a savior cannot afford to have. He warns them that a death without regrets is the ultimate aspiration for every savior on the planet. And with that profound lesson shared, he tells everyone to finish their dinner and get some rest. With promises to clash again at the national tournament, the squad goes their separate ways. Itsuki throws some shade, asking when Iberia got so buddy-buddy with Ryuto, which makes him blush hard. As they're heading out, Itsuki totally blanks on what he needed to ask, Saya figuring he'll just catch her later. He glances around, wondering where Agaha vanished to. Then he spots her sprinting like her life depends on it, and he's like, "What's the big emergency?" Hento calls out to her, and she skids to a halt, explaining it's a Priority 1 dispatch, straight from the southern continent. She insists the intel is classified for high-ranking saviors only, but Hento waves it off, telling her to spill it. He says he trusts them completely, so it's not a problem. And then she drops the bombshell, Balgar's prophecy. A catastrophic beast wave is set to hit in just 3 days. Itsuki's skeptical, asking if this vision is even legit, but Hento confirms Balgar is the real deal. Agaha immediately tries to get her dad to bounce, but he reveals they're coming for him specifically. The realization hits Hento if he sticks around. He'll be the ultimate decoy. Itsuki and Agaha instantly volunteer to throw down, but Hento shuts them down flat. He tells them his mind is made up and he's got a critical mission that only Tenma can handle. Then he drops the real task on them, protect Aiden, Iberia's father and a legendary craftsman. Itsuki gets it instantly. His master is strategically sidelining him from the slaughter. Agaha steps up, laying down 3 conditions for her father. First, he has to evacuate every single citizen. Second, he must alert all the awakened. And third, he better defend the most populated zones. Later that night, Agaha reports all the arrangements are set, and Hento gives a weak apology for the hassle. She gives him a major side-eye, clearly not buying her old man's act for a second. Hento asks if she's worried, but Agaha just smirks, saying she'll just have to crush everyone herself. She then admits that, as usual, her father sees right through everything. He confesses he sent Tenma away because a real fight would expose the kid's true powers to the world. Hento also explains that he noticed from their battles the kid is a beast at defense, but lacks serious offensive power. That's why he sent him to Aiden. The craftsman possesses an artifact that can amplify his strength. If it works, the world will witness the birth of the first perfect awakened being, a master of every attribute. Then, on the first day of the prophecy, massive stone monuments begin crashing down across the entire northern continent. Itsuki and Iberia are booking it with the blonde yelling that they've still got 100 kilometers to cover. Itsuki knows they have to push harder. The invasion could kick off any second. All of a sudden, Iberia freezes and points to the sky, screaming for his friend to look up. Itsuki whips his head around to see what he's pointing at, and his blood runs cold. A colossal flaming monument was hurtling right toward the heart of their city. The massive pillar smashes into the ground, triggering an insane explosion that turns night into day. Itsuki's mind races. The evacuation can't be finished yet. If a beast spawns now, it's game over. Down in the city, a squad of awakened are screaming that a monster is materializing and telling everyone to run for their lives. Iberia spots a barrier shimmering into existence and starts weighing their options: stick to the mission or help the people. Itsuki can see Iberia is exhausted and stressed, thinking that suggesting they divert to save civilians would just piss him off. But his friend totally surprises him, saying the beast inside is powerful and they have no choice but to help. Just like that, their plans change. First, they'll deal with the monster terrorizing the city. The ground begins to tremble violently, and a creature made of molten rock erupts from the pavement. It was a flame golem, a level 21 beast that massively outleveled the local awakened. One of the fighters grits his teeth, saying that even with their whole squad, taking this thing down is going to be a nightmare. The team's leader roars, conjuring a stone shield and yelling at his team to hold the line. He tells them to find an opening while he tanks the golem's assault, but the creature just casually lobs a fireball that smashes into the leader's chest, sending him flying. The guy slams into a wall, coughing up blood and muttering that there's no way he just survived a direct hit like that. The rest of the team starts to freak out. If their strongest member got one-shotted, what chance did they have? One of them breaks, screaming, "Run!" But before he can even turn, the golem is on him, striking him down. The man cries out to his teammates, warning them to watch out for its next move. But when he looks back, the golem is looming right over him. its molten red eyes glowing with malice. In a desperate last stand, he unleashes his water cannon, pleading for the monster to spare him. He thinks he's toast, but then remembers his water element gives him the type advantage. The others watch, wondering if he actually pulled it off, but they get ready to jump in and finish the golem. But the dude gets to his feet, arrogantly declaring he took the beast down solo, and that the final blow belongs to him. Big mistake. The golem's body instantly reforms, and it snatches him up, leaving the entire squad frozen in horror. The creature then opens its maw and unleashes a torrent of fire. Everyone braces for the end. And then out of nowhere, a colossal wall of black ice erupts from the ground, completely shielding them from the inferno. Itsuki and Iberia have arrived, and the blonde tells the terrified fighters to leave this monster to the Double E duo. Itsuki orders Iberia to get the civilians clear, while he uses his ice to counter the flames. The awakened can only stare, wondering if these two are actual saviors. Iberia just says he's on his way to becoming even stronger. The blonde yells at them to get moving, and one of the guys wonders how some random awakened just bodied a beast like that. Then he spots the shimmering ice armor, asking if it's some kind of artifact. Itsuki flashes back to Hento's advice, remembering him saying that his sphere held immense power but took forever to charge. Model. He realizes using the sphere in a regular fight is a bad call. He's got to save that ace for when there's a crowd. Since the sphere is a total no-go, he figures he'll just have to overpower this monster with pure, raw strength. The golem swings, but our hero ducks under the blow and slams a counter into its chest, immediately unleashing his thunderwave. He vaults clean over the monster's head. The creature snatches at the empty air, but he's already twisting around to land another solid hit on its chin. With the golem momentarily dazed, he powers up for his next move. A fierce blue and black aura crackles with electrical energy engulfing him. He pours everything he has into one final strike on the monster's chest. The impact launches the creature backwards, gouging a massive crater right in the street. The onlookers are totally stunned, with one civilian muttering that the beast must have been weakened beforehand. One of the awakened goes pale, his mind refusing to process the scene that just unfolded before his eyes. He can't compute how a level 21 golem couldn't even put up a fight. Once the dust clears, the awakened guy realizes the kid is gone. Another person says it was all thanks to the young hero, but their leader admits he couldn't even follow the kid's movements. As Itsuki and Iberia bolt, a grim thought crosses the hero's mind. This is a seriously bad omen for what's coming. He glances at his stats and knows that one way or another, he absolutely needs to crank up his attack power. Iberia is hyping up his speed, but Itsuki just says speed is pointless without raw power. The blonde is completely floored, confessing he'd never even thought about it like that. Itsuki then tells him that if he's serious about getting stronger, there's a solid way to do it. Instantly hyped Iberia blurts out that his dad's warehouse is packed with gear that juices up attack power. He literally starts drooling, fantasizing about how OP Itsuki would look with one of those items. Itsuki just stares at him, unnerved by his friend's creepy laugh. The blonde then tells him to get a move on, but Itsuki can see he's dragging his feet, so he just scoops his friend up. He warns him that if he's exhausted, he'll be useless in a fight. Iberia just wails that he's not ready yet. As Itsuki sprints through the city carrying him, Iberia complains about the speed, and Itsuki just deadpans that they're already way too late for the mission. After a blur of scenery, they finally arrive at a lone house tucked away deep in a forest. Iberia is thrilled to be there, complaining that his arms felt like they were about to fall off. He explains that his dad prefers the forest because the city is way too loud. Itsuki immediately fires up his detection skill, but Iberia warns him the entire place is loaded with traps. With a smirk, he says it's no problem at all, as long as his buddy stays right by his side. Iberia talks a big game, but Itsuki figures he could just dodge the traps solo with his detection skill. Then halfway there, the blonde accidentally steps on a trigger. He looks totally embarrassed, and Itsuki starts to wonder if this is even his family's house. That's when the ground begins to vibrate violently. The mana fluctuations in the air spike dramatically. All of a sudden, a gigantic iron golem erupts from the ground, priming itself for an attack. Itsuki is shook. He never expected to find humanoid-type tools way out here in the middle of nowhere. The golem immediately lunges for Iberia, who scrambles to defend himself. But the creature's hit is so devastatingly strong, it sends him flying like a ragdoll, right towards where Itsuki is standing. Our hero dives to the ground to avoid getting flattened, and the golem's fist shatters the earth. A flash of rage hits Itsuki. The fact that even a tool has more attack power than him is infuriating, and it's practically indestructible. He screams at Iberia, asking if there's any way to stop the golem. The blonde shouts back, telling his friend to go for the stone embedded right in the creature's chest. A confident grin spreads across Itsuki's face as he activates his thunder wave, saying this just got a whole lot simpler. He smoothly sidesteps the golem's clumsy attack. He then creates 2 electrical clones to act as decoys. With the monster totally confused, he shoots forward, zeroing in on its weak point. Using the chaos caused by his clones, he closes the gap in an instant and gets ready to rip out the golem's core. With a single brutal pull, he tears the glowing green stone from the creature's chest with his bare hand. Without its power source, the golem freezes solid, instantly deactivated. Itsuki holds up the stone, wondering if it will be enough for his plans, but suddenly he hears Iberia shout his name. He's yelling for someone named Yusuke-san to stop, just as a mysterious man appears out of nowhere and attacks Itsuki, who barely deflects the blow with a dagger. The man looks surprised, and Itsuki is left reeling, wondering how he managed to sneak up on him. The man introduces himself as Bokudo Yusuke. He claims he thought they were bandits. Itsuki is baffled because he couldn't sense any of the man's mana. Right before the ambush, in that brief moment of distraction, Yusuke swipes Itsuki's dagger, and our hero realizes his sword is missing too. Iberia then starts to introduce Itsuki, but his friend interrupts, asking where his father is. Yusuke points behind them, giving them a heads up to be careful, because the master is right there. Iberia's father then appears, and the guard warns that he does not look like he's in a good mood. Iberia runs up to him yelling that he passed the tournament preliminaries. He's boasting that he came in 4th place and wants to pick out a tool, but his father just slaps him clean across the face. The sheer force of the blow sends him flying. Iberia is completely bewildered, asking his dad why on earth he just hit him. Livid, the old man roars at him to return the dragon armor he stole. He starts tearing into his son, saying something about how pushing it too far could trigger something permanent. In a flash of fury, Iberia slams his bag onto the forest floor, vowing to never touch anything of his father's again. Just then, a new figure steps forward and calmly introduces himself. "I'm Tenma Itsuki. It's a pleasure." He clarifies that his master dispatched him for protection, all because of Balgar's dark prophecy. Aiden scoffs internally, wondering how Hento could ever pick such a painfully average kid as his disciple, but then his eyes shoot wide open. He senses a bizarrely powerful aura radiating from the boy. He asks if his level is locked, and a system screen confirms his suspicion. Aiden narrows his eyes, asking bluntly, "Are you using a karma artifact to fake your stats?" The answer makes it all click into place, revealing exactly why Hento requested that specific item. He mutters that the boy's master is a master strategist, and there must be a prize involved. But Itsuki is completely blindsided, admitting Hento never mentioned anything about swapping an artifact. Aiden just shrugs, saying he's not bothered about handing over the item. He was simply intrigued by the choice. Itsuki is still totally lost. He presses, asking why he'd call the artifact a failure. The old man reveals that the item was engineered to be a masterpiece designed to double attack power on a critical hit. But then, a tiny crack appeared in the crystal, warping its effect entirely. Now, the item cranks the attack power up by a factor of 10. The catch, however, is that it resets the critical hit rate every time the user levels up. This makes the artifact worthless to any normal awakened, but an absolute game changer for this boy. Itsuki reaches for the crystal, which dissolves into his hand in a shower of golden light. Aiden confirms that, since he's unable to level up, the artifact is tailor-made for him. With enough time, his critical hit rate will skyrocket to 100%, transforming every single one of his attacks into a devastating blow. A brilliant golden aura flares to life around him, as the name of his new skill materializes in the air. He quickly realizes a massive problem, though the rate only climbs when he fights enemies stronger than himself. The system interface displays the full mind-bending details of the crystal's new power. Aiden remarks that the item seems to be a perfect match for him, and Itsuki can only agree. In that instant, a flaming arrow detonates in the forest nearby, and Aiden whispers, "That's impossible." An instant later, a colossal stone pillar smashes into the ground, unleashing a shockwave that ripples through the earth. The guards posted outside are sent flying by the brutal force of the explosion. Iberia stumbles out of the house, completely clueless about the chaos erupting. Stunned, his eyes lock onto a gigantic green barrier that has sealed them in. He can't begin to comprehend why it's there. He immediately starts to panic. Aiden's mind races, realizing this can't be a random attack since only his commanders knew his precise location. Yusuke's warning cry cuts through the noise. The calamity beasts are stampeding right for them. With his eyes glowing intensely, Itsuki senses multiple presences, approaching at an impossible speed. He counts 6 creatures. They're darting through the forest canopy, but he instantly corrects his count, realizing there are actually 8 of them. They're here to kill. A one-horned demon appears from the shadows, and Itsuki growls that they've finally shown up. The monster lunges, trying to attack from behind, but our hero snatches it by the throat mid-air. Itsuki summons his ice wall instantly, impaling the demon on a razor-sharp spike. The other demons don't even hesitate, swarming the protagonist with pure, unadulterated bloodlust. The thought crosses his mind that he could unleash Lotus Explosion and vaporize them all right now. He knows Yusuke, who's also in the fight, could probably survive the blast. The real issue is Aiden and Iberia, who are taking cover in the nearby shed. It's directly behind him. If he unleashes that explosion recklessly, those two will be caught in the inferno. Surrounded by the bodies of his enemies, he accepts that he's far more effective fighting alone. Suddenly, he feels another surge of mana far more potent than anything before. Just then, a level 24, two-horned guardian demon materializes before him. The scene cuts away to the demon realm. This is where the initial assault was launched. They're in a meeting debating which of the 8 demon kings will command the main attack force. The king announces that thanks to his special eye, he's already spotted a person of great importance on the battlefield. Maraku, another of the 8 kings, questions who will lead the assault, but the king decides to assign a general to avoid risking his powerful eye. He then officially hands over command of the primary force to the demon general Shokuma. The king remarks that it's been a long time since he's eaten a human, and that the general must be starving. As if on cue, Iberia's scream echoes through the forest. Itsuki whips his head around, wondering what just happened. The two-horned demon charges him, forcing him to defend and protect his body. With this monster right in his face, he decides there's no other option but to use that power. Itsuki readies himself to strike the demon down. Weaving around its crushing blow, he spots the perfect opportunity to boost his critical hit rate and begins to concentrate his purple energy sphere. The protagonist then launches the sphere, which screams through the air towards the monster. The attack lands a direct hit. A system window pops up, announcing that his critical hit rate has successfully increased. He yells to Yusuke to handle the beast inside the house, declaring he'll take care of the rest. Crackling with lightning, Itsuki sprints toward the cabin to back up his friend, but inside, Iberia is already down and grievously wounded. His dragon armor has been completely shattered. He knows the situation is dire, and if this continues, it's game over. The demon's hand closes around his throat, and the blonde dude is screaming, begging Itsuki for help when Aiden materializes out of nowhere and just obliterates the monster's head with a sledgehammer. Iberia tries to explain that his dad isn't a warrior, but he has zero fear of the beasts. The creature then pivots, locking eyes on the old man with a look of pure, undiluted rage. With one massive shove, Aiden launches the beast clear out of the house and snarls that the rest is on them. That's when Itsuki arrives, lightning crackling across his entire body, absolutely spoiling for a fight. He throws up an ice wall, effortlessly deflecting the creature's vicious claw attack. In the next instant, he impales the monster straight through the chest, unleashing a torrent of blood. He just smirks, "My bad, I'm late." Aiden just grunts, asking for a status report on the situation outside. Itsuki explains that he's pretty sure Yusuke has already mopped the floor with all the other beasts. Outside, Iberia and Aiden are absolutely floored, seeing the man standing tall amidst the demonic carnage. But Yusuke warns them not to get comfortable. More of them will keep pouring in. He says he's going to shatter the barrier, but if any monsters slip through, it's their problem. But Itsuki cuts in, telling him to hang back and guard the other two. Aiden catches a glimpse of his eyes and realizes there's no fear there, just a raw hunger for battle. In that moment, he decides to trust this kid and leaves the barrier's destruction in his hands. Yusuke warns that creatures from a green barrier are at least level 250. With a dangerous glint in his eyes, Itsuki prepares to move out, lightning arcing from his frame. He cracks a smile, saying he can finally fight with everything he's got, without holding anything back. Iberia offers to join him, but his father stops him cold, telling him he can't. He explains that they exist in 2 completely different worlds, and that it's frankly pathetic. The blonde is baffled, arguing that they're a team, and they're supposed to cover each other's weaknesses. But his father roars at him, saying he's not providing support, he's just dead weight. He warns that if he keeps this up, he's going to get Tenma killed. Aiden chimes in, explaining that Tenma is built different, and that no one in his generation can even hold a candle to him. He asks if Iberia has ever truly seen the look in his eyes when he faces down a Calamity-class beast. Meanwhile, Itsuki detects 5 new enemies, and his mana instantly shoots back to its maximum. The demons have him completely boxed in, but he's utterly unfazed by their numbers. With a roar, he tells them to get out of his way as a massive electric aura explodes around him. He then unleashes his Lotus Explosion, wiping out all 5 enemies in a single devastating blast. With this victory, he knows he won't let a single beast get anywhere near the others. Iberia stares into the forest, watching the plume of smoke rising from the explosion that just ripped through the trees. He and Yusuke wonder where it came from, figuring that Itsuki must have found another pack of beasts. Yusuke mutters that an explosion of that magnitude isn't something a level 0 should be capable of. Itsuki finally reaches the green barrier, and can feel that the beasts inside are on another level. He tries to use his mana detection, but the barrier completely jams his ability. Then he remembers the color green means the beasts are level 20, 6 to 50. As a lotus symbol forms in his hand, he can only think of the insane amount of experience points he's about to farm. With that, he decides to summon his Shinigami, the Deathhound, which emerges from the deepest shadows. We get a quick flash of the creature's stats, a B-rank wolf with the power to track mana. Itsuki pats the wolf, promising to feed it all the experience points, but he warns it not to touch a single beast until it gets the signal. With a predatory look, he declares that every last creature in this place is his prey. Ageha informs her father that the awakened guards have finally arrived to help fortify the defenses. A man introduces himself as Kichirijima, a first-class savior who will be her personal protector. Hento asks about Akira, and Ageha says he was guarding the area's perimeter. She explains that he was en route, but she suddenly lost contact with him. Ageha starts to panic, worried he might be in trouble since he's one of the pillars. Hento then tells her to keep trying to reach him, since only a special-class savior can fight this. But Kichirijima scoffs that she's overhyping the special-class saviors who are only human. He's convinced there isn't that big of a difference, and that he can easily defeat a powerful beast. But Hento shuts him down, saying it's good to be confident, but he's being delusional. With a crushing aura, he warns that Kichirijima only talks like that because he's never been in a real fight. Suddenly, a monster plummets out of the sky, and he screams, warning that the invasion has begun. Hento glares at the portal, knowing the enemy has finally come to play. Kichirijima says that if a special class is a no-show, they can't be relied on. With a determined fire in his eyes, he vows to prove he's every bit as capable as a special class. The scene cuts away, showing a massive green sphere of energy pulsing in the dead of night. Itsuki steps through the barrier, noticing the terrain inside isn't all that different from the outside world. But he feels a bizarre aura radiating from a distant pillar of light, and it's seriously creeping him out. He triggers his detection skill, but he can't sense anything outside the barrier, as if they're trapped in two separate dimensions. His mana regenerates, and he gets a fix on where the 5 enemies are located. He then commands his Death Hound to stay put, telling it to devour any beasts that try to slip past him. With a savage grin, he unleashes his Thunder Wave, ready to sweep through the entire area. 2 dog-like monsters charge through the forest, ready to ambush the intruder, but Itsuki just flashes past them with utterly impossible speed. Leaving them totally stunned, he summons a massive ice wall and launches himself straight at the demon horde. Pinning them with a crackling electric blade, he carves through the beasts, dropping both enemies in a single fluid motion. He keeps pushing, wiping out the rest. His lightning bolt zaps through all the demons, but the last one, the Alpha, squares up to him, ready for the final showdown. Without a moment's hesitation, Itsuki activates his piercing sphere, locking onto the dead center of the monster's forehead. The sphere hits its mark flawlessly, punching clean through the demon's skull, and just like that, his critical hit rate gets a nice little bump to 3%, and the battle is over. Itsuki does some quick mental math. With a 3% chance he should be landing a critical hit, roughly every 100 attacks. He approaches the glowing pillar of light, realizing this is the first time he's ever seen one this close. A look of pure determination on his face, he figures that if he can just shatter this pillar, the whole barrier should collapse. But out of nowhere, his detection skill pings, alerting him that another enemy has just spawned. With lightning arcing around his body, he braces himself for another fight. There's still one more left. The creature shoots a volley of black spikes erupting from the ground, trying to turn our hero into a human pincushion, but he dodges by a hair's breadth, thinking that if he hadn't sensed that mana fluctuation, he would have been totally toast. Glancing at the ground, he realizes he would have been impaled if he wasn't on high alert. Then he spots tentacles slithering from behind the pillar, and everything clicks into place. The creature finally reveals itself, showing it's a completely different class of monster from the others. The green barrier starts to flicker and fade, revealing the dark night sky. Back at the house, Iberia is staring at his father, his face a mask of guilt. Yusuke warns him to stay inside, saying that not even Tenma might be able to solo this. He tries to calm the kid down, but Iberia feels like he's nothing but dead weight in this crisis. Outside, Yusuke asks if he thinks he could take on a level 26 beast. He tells him not to get down on himself, admitting that even he didn't have that much guts. At his age, Iberia is floored, and Yusuke explains that the power gap between the barriers is absolutely massive. He says the gray beasts are basically mindless drones on a rampage, but inside the green barriers. The monsters are intelligent on the same level as humans. Just then, a beast clad in blue armor appears, a level 34 general. Yusuke notes that very few kids from their generation could ever hope to defeat this thing. He explains that Iberia isn't dead weight because he's inexperienced, but for a whole other reason. The truth is, Tenma is just built different. The guy can even speak their language. The beast scoffs, asking what he's muttering about, maybe begging for his life. It calls him a coward, saying he can't stop trembling in fear before its might. But Itsuki just grins, saying he's actually just pumped, because he had a question for it. With a sadistic sneer, the beast says it'll grant his final wish if he's feeling lucky. And with his eyes blazing with intensity, Itsuki asks if the creature is capable of feeling pain. The beast is shocked, saying a mere human could never make it feel pain, and calls him audacious. With a powerful leap, the creature warns that its specialty is inflicting agony on others. Its tentacles lash out like living razors, slicing up the ground and carving craters all over the forest. Itsuki weaves between the attacks, moving like a blur through the utter chaos. With one precise strike, he severs a tentacle clean off, creating an opening for a counterattack. He wonders if that was a solid hit, but then feels the monster's mana begin to swell exponentially. The tentacles get way faster, and he can now barely dodge the lethal swipes, but he knows that when it comes to pure speed, he still has the advantage in this fight. The only problem is, without any raw power behind his hits, he can barely scratch the enemy. The beast can't believe a level 0 has this kind of speed and demands to know his level. But then it scoffs, saying it doesn't matter. He's still just an insect that's a little faster than usual. The creature warns him that if he takes even a single clean hit, it's an instant checkmate. Itsuki charges forward, slicing another tentacle and setting up for the finishing blow. He dodges just in the nick of time, a tentacle grazing right past his ear, almost taking his head off. Throwing his arm back, he manages to parry the next attack, deflecting the deadly blade. The block holds, but the raw force of the impact sends him careening into a tree. With a tentacle snagged on his arm, he braces himself to counter the monster's next move. Itsuki glares at the beast, telling it to bring its A-game. The creature just mocks him, saying his electricity is only good for making him run faster. But Itsuki realizes overmimesis won't activate since the tentacles are technically part of its main body. He keeps hammering the monster with strikes, losing count of how many hits he's landed. But the creature says it's all pointless, as his mana is almost completely tapped out. With his eyes glowing red, he knows that if he keeps this up, his speed is going to tank. He decides he has to crank up the frequency of his attacks to force a critical hit. Flooding his body with his electric aura, he rushes in and unleashes an insane flurry of blows on the monster. He thinks to himself that he just has to keep attacking to raise the probability of that one lucky shot. The creature slams him with a tentacle, but he grits his teeth through the agony and keeps up the assault. But then the monster impales him with one of its tentacles, wounding him fatally in the process. "You absolute moron," the beast sneers, watching him charge in so blindly. It then mocks him, asking why it can't feel a thing from his pathetic attacks. The creature is genuinely surprised he's not dead yet, noting his defense must be insanely high. But a wicked grin spreads across Itsuki's face as the system chimes in. His next attack is a 100% guaranteed critical hit. In a single fluid motion, he unleashes a cataclysmic blow right into the creature's chest. A raw, blood-curdling scream rips from its throat, its mind unable to process the sheer force it just absorbed. The impact is so colossal, it sends the beast hurtling backward, crashing through a line of trees. It's over. Sprawled on the forest floor, it gasps, wondering what in the world just happened and where that god-tier power came from. Itsuki wipes a trickle of blood from his lips, stunned by the destructive power he just commanded. This victory brings with it an electrifying rush, a deep satisfaction, unlike anything he's ever known. He glances at his own gash, but realizes he's totally numb to the pain despite the blood flow. With a puff of smoke-like air from his mouth, he whispers, "I feel incredible." He begins a slow, deliberate walk toward the fallen monster. He leans in close and asks, "So, did that hurt?" He places a hand on the beast's head, which whimpers. "What are you going to do?" A sadistic glint flashes in Itsuki's eyes. "You know," he says, "most monsters I fight are just mindless animals." His grip tightens, squeezing the creature's skull. "But your screams of agony. Now that's a wonderful sound." The beast begins to freak out, shrieking that he's not human, he's a demon. And with one final sickening crunch, he crushes the monster's skull, a notification confirming his critical hit rate has increased. He looks down at the corpse and says, "Finally finished." But as the combat high wears off, a tidal wave of blinding pain from his own wounds washes over him. He forces himself to scan the area, noticing the barrier has gone transparent. There are no more beasts anywhere. With the zone cleared, there's only one task left: demolish the pillar. With a single swing, he effortlessly shatters the structure. He thinks to himself that it was way more fragile than he expected. Utterly drained, he collapses to the ground, realizing he needs to check one more thing before he can leave. He stares up at the sky and calls out for his death hound in a strained voice. In an instant, the Shinigami appears. "Show me your face," Itsuki commands. As the colossal wolf approaches, Itsuki squints and asks, "Wait, did you get bigger?" He looks more intently and understands it's more than just a size increase. The system screen reveals that his wolf has leveled up, a full 3 times.